If you follow the yellow brick road, you will land smack dab in the middle of America's heartland. The Kansas Speedway is one of NASCAR's newer tracks, an area with tons of sports fans, the Kansas City area. But this weekend, they are lining up. It's not dust in the wind, but speed in the air as the trucks kick off the NASCAR weekend. Bragging rights are on the line again today. To win here, you will need heart, smarts, and courage. Dorothy may not be in Kansas anymore, but you are. The setup is on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kansas. This track has been the site of spectacular saves and all-out throwdowns. In fact, just for good measure, I'm going to go ahead and remove my watch. Over the next half hour, we're going to have a lot of fun. You will learn about some of your favorite Truck Series drivers from their better halves. Yes, the women who know them best. Wait till you see this. And you will also meet a guy who struck it rich and then immediately spent his money right here in the Truck Series. That is what's coming up here on the setup. There you see our drivers who have had a lot of fun getting married in the off-season. And we talked about the millionaire boss. You will meet him in just a bit. But who will be money today? Ray Dunlap and Hermie Sadler will be working the pits. Hermie, who are you keeping your eyes on?
Well, Krista, ever since we left Daytona when John King pulled off that tremendous upset victory, it's been all Sprint Cup Series regulars in victory lane. Kevin Harvick back at Martinsville, he dominated to take the checkered flag at the paperclip. Then at Rockingham, Kasey Kahne started dead last on the field, drove his way to victory at the Rock. Well, the Sprint Cup Series regulars are going to take the 3 in a row. It's going to have to be Brad Keselowski that does it today. The only Cup regular in the field. He qualified 12th in this number 19 Dodge Ram. We'll see if he can make his way to the front and make it 3 in a row for the Cup guys. Ray?
You know, Hermie, when we look at the first 3 races this season, an unbelievable statistic popped out. The fact that we had drivers finish 1-2 with teams in each of the 3 races. That's never happened before 2012, but I'm telling you, there's a likelihood that it could strike again today here at Kansas. Eddie Sharp Racing's running very, very well. They could do it. Joe DeNapp Motorsports could do it, and also Thor Sport. Any one of those 3 teams could make it 4 races in a row with a 1-2 team finish. Krista?
A lot to keep your eye on. Well, last week, Denny Hamlin tweeted that even if he has to build a truck himself, he plans on racing at the Rock next year. It was a special day for the series, a historic day for the sport, and redemption for one driver as NASCAR returned to Rockingham for the first time in 8 years.
Kahne goes to the bottom. Kahne comes to the bottom. He gets the run. He's got a good run on him. Side by side to the line. Kenseth. 1/100th of a second. We're underway at the Rock. Kahne trying to make the move on the inside.
That's how we almost won the last Cup race here in 2004. Drove underneath Matt Kenseth. Came up just a few inches short.
Seems as though Kasey Kahne has been methodical about staying on the bottom of the racetrack and just picking trucks off one at a time as he gets to it.
Methodically worked his way inside the top 10 at lap 30, starting in the back of the field and has driven up to the 10th spot. I don't think he's done either.
At lap 61, Mike Shiplett took the track bar down 1 round. Not a real big adjustment, but Kasey said it definitely made a difference.
He was the fastest truck that last time around.
He just came on the radio and said, whatever adjustments you gave me, they're not enough. I'm going to need more for sure. And we see that as evident because he has just lost a couple of positions on the racetrack.
Kasey Kahne takes the spot away from Timothy Peters. So Kahne up into second. This is the highest he has run today. New leader at the Rock, Kasey Kahne. He could add another win today if he stays out front. Out of turn number 4, Kasey Kahne will win at the Rock.
Way to go. Good job, Mike.
Well, to say Kasey Kahne is good in the Truck Series would be a huge understatement. He has raced 5 times and won 4 of them. And what did he do in the other one? Just finished a measly second. How's that for a record? We should say Brad Sweet was in the truck for practice and qualifying there last week. It was a sweet win for Kasey. Still to come here on the setup. Well, a few weeks ago, we all had Mega Million fever. You will meet a real-life lottery winner who is now banking on the Truck Series. He could have spent his money on yachts and trips. Nope. He chose to spend his money on the trucks. And which NASCAR newlyweds know each other best? 3 of our Truck Series drivers got married in the off-season, so Rick Allen puts them on the spot.
If he were to describe you as a racetrack, which track would you be?
The setup is brought to you by Camping World and Good Sam. Everything for the RV lifestyle, including RVs, accessories, warranties, insurance, and roadside assistance. And by Scion, making vehicles for today's connected youth. Learn more at Scion.com. Scion, what moves you? Well, there was a lot of love in the offseason as 3 of our Truck Series regular drivers, Matt Crafton, James Busher, and Cale Gale, all tied the knot, all within a few weeks of each other. So it got us thinking, who knows whom best? The honeymoon may be over, but the newlywed game, Truck Series style, is just beginning.
Hello and welcome to Just Married. I'm your host, Rick Allen, and joining us today, 3 newlywed couples. Let's meet them. Matt Crafton and his wife, Ashley. James Busher and his wife, Chris. And Cale Gale and his wife, Jennifer. We'll start off with the men. The first question that we asked the ladies. What article of clothing does he wear that you can't stand? Matt, what do you think it's going to be?
Hat.
A hat? Hat. How about that? And you wear a hat all the time for work.
We were just arguing about it on the way
He
here.
was mad because he couldn't wear a hat today.
All right, James.
There's a couple, but I'm guessing the blue pair of shorts that I have.
Blue pair of shorts. How about that?
We spent a lot of time
All right.
together.
What do you think?
I'd
Cale,
probably
what's-
say tall white socks.
Tall white socks?
Yeah, she hates
Tall
that.
socks with shorts. I think we've got to give it to him. The tall socks was the answer there. That was very well done. All right, ladies, we asked the guys, if he were to describe you as a racetrack, which track would you be?
Probably Darlington because he thinks I'm difficult.
That's an interesting idea.
No.
Bristol. Why Bristol?
Why Bristol?
Because it's mean, it'll spit you out.
Okay.
Same theory.
All right. Which racetrack do you think, James,
I don't know.
has you most resemble?
Bristol.
Bristol it is.
Really good guess.
All right, Jennifer.
I would say Bristol as well. That's my favorite track, so hopefully.
Could it be a clean sweep for Bristol? Bristol, get off of me.
You know, it's just women's like Bristol and race cars at Bristol is like magnets. You're just, you know, sometimes you just got to get off of me a little bit every now and then. You know?
Okay, all right. I like it. All 3 of you answered Bristol. That's pretty interesting. We asked the ladies, if you had to marry another NASCAR driver other than your husband, who would it be?
It's not difficult.
Oh, it's not difficult. She's got her mind made up already. Jimmy Johnson. How about
It's the
that?
facial hair. That's what it is.
Oh, is that why you're going with the almost beard?
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
it.
Okay. All right. Nice try.
I want to say it's one of my teammates, Casey Kane.
Casey Kane. How about
A
that?
little more scandalous if it's your teammate.
Cale.
Carl Edwards.
Carl Edwards. Quickly. Carl with a heart. What would your wife say was the most romantic thing you've ever done
This
for
one's
her?
easy.
Really?
I'm not very romantic.
It might be the only romantic thing.
Okay.
Probably, he might not want everybody to know how romantic he is. Probably his proposal on the beach.
The proposal on the beach.
Propose.
Propose. Most romantic. Very good. All right, Chris.
Probably that time that we got home from a race and you had my sister like fix our whole house and the walkway to our bedroom was candles and there was rose petals everywhere.
That was a nice one, but you're wrong.
Oh, no.
I planned our entire honeymoon.
Oh, see, that was romantic.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Jennifer.
I I guess just like our whole like marriage process. I mean, I don't know if that's really an answer, but just like our whole wedding in general, like he was pretty romantic about like the whole process.
The wedding process.
I can't think of like one specific.
Yeah, what do you think? Married her? Well, that is romantic, but I think that's pretty broad.
Okay, I love how the ladies, none of them hesitated when asked about a backup husband. But the big question is, was that the suit Rick Allen wore to the prom? And how are we going to break this tie? Rick?
Well, Kristen, no. It's not the suit that I wore to the prom. This is a lot newer than the suit that I wore to the prom. But actually, we do have a tie, 15 points for each couple. And we're going to ask a bonus question when we come back. And it would even make Bob Eubanks blush. So you'll want to see that.
Now that I cannot wait for. Yes, thank you very much. We look forward to it. And like getting a new crew chief, making a marriage work is all about chemistry. But that's not all we have coming up. We will also tag along with the driver who last weekend was just one pit stop away from his first career Truck Series win. Nelson Piquet Jr. starts 8th today. That's where he finished here at Kansas last year. And Rick mentioned it, we're not necessarily trying purposely to embarrass anyone, but we are going to get very personal, and embarrassment will most likely happen, especially when certain people are watching.
My grandmother is going to watch this show.
Our couples know each other pretty well. We have a tie, and our tiebreaker question is, on your honeymoon, how many times did you make whoopee?
OMG. My grandmother is going to watch this show. Was that double digits?
Double digits.
Our first couple, Matt and Ashley.
What did you put?
Go ahead and flip them over.
He's going to put like 12. Wow.
Matt says 7.
I don't remember all of those.
And Ashley says 5. All right.
She must have been sleeping.
All right. Let's go to the Bushers. James, Chris. James said 9 and 9. Wow. How about this?
Scary that y'all know exactly.
All right. And the Gales. Gail and Jennifer.
I had a plan.
35. Sorry, 3 and 5. Okay. Congratulations to James and Chris Busher, winners of Just Married. Until next time, I'm Rick Allen. Thanks for joining us.
Well, I have to say all three of our couples know each other pretty well. But by the way, Ashley, your grandmother called, and you have some explaining to do. You know, it is a long way from Brazil to Kansas City, 4,847 miles to be exact. But that trip will all be worth it for Nelson Piquet Jr. as soon as he makes it to Victory Lane, which he almost did last week. How has Nelson been doing here at Kansas this weekend? Well, we followed him through Friday's 2 practices. He is our speed spotlight driver.
The moment he gets tight, late middle of exit, you know, the later proportion of the middle of the corner, it's probably going to start, the more we run, if we kept running that way, it probably would start to come close. I don't think it would start in the entry, but it's for sure it would go to the middle of the corner, you know, or late entry. It would start to get tight probably if it got extreme.
This will be our last run this session.
Hey, we crashed. We touched. I wanted to pass him and I got loose. I'm real sorry.
Let's finish this one. Come on in. Give me a good judgment on the truck here.
The windy conditions here kind of playing havoc with everybody. It makes the turn 1 and 2 end of the racetrack a lot more difficult than the turn 3 or 4 end because it's blowing across turn 2. So it naturally tries to shove the trucks up the racetrack.
I'm going to try to run a little bit wider maybe in 3 and 4, see if that helps any bit. Balance-wise, I think we're very similar to the last run. Maybe a little bit more front grip, but still tight.
10-4. Good job today, guys. Really good job. Way to come back from a lot of obstacles here. We're going to have a really good race car tomorrow.
You're going to be fine, trust me.
That's what you said every time.
Well, I told you that last week, too, right?
Nelson Piquet Jr., you've been inching closer and closer to your first victory in the Camping World Truck Series. What will be the key for you getting to Victory Lane today?
Obviously, we saw last race that everything was going well. You know, we were quick, qualified on the pole, everything was right, but a little mistake in the pit stop. So I think getting every single thing correct, I think, is going to be the key to win a race. You know, we're going to have another Cup driver here, Brad, so he's going to, for sure, give us a lot of trouble. But I think we have a good truck enough to try to win the race.
And what is it about this racetrack? Drivers love this racetrack. Obviously, it's going to be repaved before the series comes back. What is it about this racetrack that makes it fun for the drivers?
I think it's a big, quick track. You know, the seams make it a bit slippery when you go over them. So I like it. I like the kind of speeds. I like this kind of shape of tracks.
And he's got a lot of confidence after his run at Rockingham. He'll roll off 8th this afternoon. Rick?
Thanks, Hermie. Yes, Nelson Piquet starting 8th. By the way, our front row today, a first-time pole sitter in Tim George Jr. Jason Leffler, right behind me, starts alongside with these 2 trucks. Still a lot more to come here on the setup. In fact, we are going to introduce you to a guy who has definitely made it big. One of our Truck Series owners was chatting with Barbara Walters last month. From Babs to the setup, he's living proof that regular people really do strike it rich, especially after hitting bottom.
Housing market took the big bullet, and I was one of the guys that went down with it.
So he cashed in, but who else cashed in on last week's fantasy picks? We will reveal the winner and make our picks for here in Kansas. That's when the setup from the Kansas Speedway rolls on here on Speed. The setup is brought to you by Sleep Inn. Dream better here. Book now at sleepin.com. And by the Accord from Honda. It wasn't Sprint Cup, but the trucks that baptized this track for NASCAR 11 years ago. The winner that day, Ricky Hendrick. And this area has changed and grown ever since that day in 2001. A new casino outside the backstretch overlooking Turn 2 here at the Kansas Speedway. And speaking of striking it rich, you know, NASCAR is a sport of numbers, from stats to streaks to starting positions. Well, one day 3 years ago, an ordinary guy played his favorite NASCAR driver numbers in the lottery and struck it rich. He cashed in on a dream that led him to NASCAR's front door.
Before I won the lottery, I was actually unemployed. I was an unemployed construction worker. Housing market took the big bullet, and I was one of the guys that went down with it. Just when I was starting to run out of money, that's when I picked the right numbers, or should I say the computer picked the right numbers for me. It was utter disbelief. It was like, I can't believe it. I looked 5-6 times at it, I'm like, yeah, it's for real. When they had the public presentation, the lottery board knew I was a race fan, and they wanted to do it at Richmond International Raceway. I'm like, that'd be sweet. They said, we want Hermie to present you the check. And I'm like, oh, that's even better. Because I had followed Hermie's career from Nationwide, or back then the Grand National, to Sprint Cup.
He showed up and he had even some of my old die-cast cars and collectibles that I autographed for him at the time. And so I gave him his money, and I rode him around the racetrack in the pace car, and we had a fun day, hit it off right off the bat, and we've been friends ever since.
Well, he took me about 3 laps around the track, and I was just having fun. I'm like, man, why don't you drive anymore? He's like, well, he said, you got to have the right deal and this, and told me a few things. And he said he every now and then would get behind the wheel of a truck. I said, well, what would it take to get you behind the wheel of a truck? And he told me a number for sponsorship. And I'm like, well, when's the next race you want to run? I said, just as long as you get me in the pits. Well, I put him behind the wheel 4 or 5 races that year. Then the following year, I'm like, what's it going to take for us to have a team?
He came to me one day and he said, you know, I've been very fortunate. I got a break in life, and one thing I've always wanted to do, never thought I'd be able to do, is form a team, own a team, you know, in the Camping World Truck Series.
Then he called me and said, hey, I got a deal where we can sign gun brokers for a full season with a full season driver. You interested? Let's sign him.
You know, JDM was a rookie team in 2011. We had some good times, we had some struggles, but at the end of the day, we learned from that.
From last year to this year, I've seen an incredible change. I can ask for nothing more than we have now. I feel like beginning this year, when Harvick got out of the business, we just stepped into his shoes. They're big shoes to fill, and I want to fill them. I want to carry on like he did. I want to win. I want to win a championship. I want us to win races.
Joe is spending the money. We've got good equipment. We put the right people together, and we can be competitive. Being able to talk to and eventually hire a champion in Ron Hornaday that I think, number one, first of all, makes a statement that JDM is serious about trying to win races. So to get a lot of people from KHI and to get a guy like Hornaday in the seat was crucial for us. It showed our credibility and what our dreams and goals and aspirations were.
Ron can win races, and I feel like I'm going to do everything I can to put him in the best equipment to win races. With the best equipment, and in my opinion, the best driver, you can't do anything but win races and contend for a championship.
And that is such a great story. Time now to take a look at our fantasy standings. And this thing is really tight, but Ray has actually inched out to a lead with his pick last week. You know what that means, because it's not just bragging rights, but it also means that Ray gets his sticker on our helmet. He's going to join Hermie and Rick, and we'll put him right here. Ray really classes this thing up, doesn't he? All right, so who is going to make, who are you going to pick for today? We start with Hermie. Hermie, who do you like?
I don't like Ray's ugly mug up there beside my pretty one, first of all. But anyway, James Busher is going to be the guy. Turner Motorsports has made tremendous improvement through the offseason. Their trucks are fast. He's been knocking on the door. I say James Busher gets both of us to victory lane today. Who you got, Krista?
Well, I like that pick, but I would like to see my face on this helmet, so I'm going to go with Ty Dillon. He has been fast all weekend, top 5 in both practices on Friday, and he starts in the top 5. He starts and rolls off 5th. I like the number 3. Let's head upstairs. Phil, who do you like?
Krista, it's going to be my face on that helmet next week because my guy's won here in the Cup Series. He's won here in the Nationwide Series, and he's going to become the 24th different driver to win in all 3 divisions. Brad Keselowski wins here today. You're one of those guys that won in all 3 divisions. You were the 22nd guy to do that.
Yeah.
Who's your pick?
Let's keep the winning continuing. I'm going to pick Jason White. I know Jason White's heart. I know his passion. I know how bad he wants to put his truck in victory lane, and today could be the day he does it. He's got a great starting spot, loves the 1.5 mile tracks. Jason White, Rick Allen, wins this race.
You're half right on your pick. Jason is going to win this race, but it's actually going to be Jason Leffler that wins this race because they've had bad luck to start off the season. Today is when the season gets turned around. Jason Leffler gets the win today at Kansas. What do you think, Ray?
Well, Rick, I can tell you this. I don't mind picking last because that means my face is on the sticker. I had Casey Kane last week, and this week I'm going out on a little limb because I'm going to say that Justin Lofton finally gets to victory lane. He won the ARCA Championship in 2009. He's got 7 wins over in that division. He's been inching his way to the front. Lofton's finishes this year 3rd, 4th, and 10th. Today I think it's going to be 1st, and I'll be the 1st with 2 stickers on the helmet. Krista?
I don't know about that, but you know, it really is so hard to pick a winner. We didn't even name veterans like Hornaday or Bodine who have won here. Johnny Sauter, another winner. Matt Crafton, he hasn't won here, but another series veteran. It's just so hard to pick a winner. And actually, the 2 drivers who are on the front row getting words of advice right now from their high-profile owners, Richard Childress talking to Tim George Jr. and Kyle Busch talking to Jason Leffler right over my shoulder. Will our streak of teammates finishing 1-2 continue? Kansas City, here we come.
With 3 races ran this season, the Truck Series battle has been between teammates. First, it was John King beating Timothy Peters in a surprise win. Then it was Kevin Harvick showing Ty Dillon the way around Martinsville. And last week, Casey Kane drove from the rear of the pack to beat James Busher. The teammate battle is heating up. Kansas starts now.
Welcome to the SFP 250 just off Interstate 70 in Kansas City, Kansas. This track has been anything but flat for the Camping World Truck Series. 11 races, 11 different winners. And so far this year, a 1-2 finish for 3 different pair of teammates. It's been a chilly weekend here in Kansas, much warmer today than yesterday, but the Truck Series drivers have seen colder temps at this track before. A little bit of a breeze, but it's perfect weather for racing. Last year, a Kansas native, Clint Boyer, won this race. He is not in the field today. Tim George Jr. is on the pole, a first pole for this RCR Richard Childress driver. Last year's Cup Series winner at this track is here. That's Brad Keselowski. A lot of other drivers trying to get their win. Jason Leffler will start alongside the front row, on the front row alongside Tim George Jr. Following this weekend, this track will be repaved. Every driver trying to be the last one to win a truck race on this surface. Speaking of this surface, we're about to get started here at the Kansas Speedway for the 12th Camping World Truck Series race. We keep things trackside for today's opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as the 4th Infantry Brigade Combat Team Color Guard out of Fort Riley, Kansas presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Bethel Baptist Church in Kansas City Alliance Raceway Ministries Pastor R.D. Fowler offers today's invocation.
Race fans, join me in prayer. Father, we're grateful for this beautiful Saturday to race. We pray today for the safety of our drivers, our crews, Father, all those around the track. We especially have thanks for those men and women who serve faithfully to keep us free and for the sacrifice their families make. We ask you to bless them, bless our nation. In Jesus' name, amen.
And here today to sing our national anthem, please welcome award-winning vocalist performing locally and nationally, and Missouri resident Tammy Beebe.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Only 3 drivers in the field have won here before. They are veterans, but it's the young guys who have been knocking on the door. Who breaks that door down today in Kansas? For these guys, there's no place like Victory Lane. It all gets started next on Speed.
The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Camping World and Good Sam. Everything for the RV lifestyle, including RVs, accessories, warranties, insurance, and roadside assistance. By AutoStop. New AutoStop is foolproof. And by the new 2013 Taurus. Gorgeous day in Kansas City, Kansas, as we're getting ready for the 4th race of the 2012 season. Attitude. That has been the big topic. Our 4 different racetracks, different attitudes at every racetrack. And we talk about the 4th different racetrack. It is our first mile-and-a-half racetrack. What will be different about Kansas? Hello, everyone. Rick Allen, Phil Parsons, Michael Waltrip with you once again. We start the 4th race on a mile-and-a-half racetrack. Why is this so big?
Well, it's so big, Rick, because we have 10 mile-and-a-half races in our 22-race schedule. This is the first one of them. They're all a little bit different. This racetrack specifically, you can run from the bottom to the top, and this is the last time these truck guys are going to do it because they're going to reconfigure and repave this racetrack. But you run from the bottom of the racetrack to the top of the racetrack. If you can't find the grip on the bottom, you're going to move to the top. And we'll take a look at our Camping World track description right now. 15-degree banking in the corners here. This is a fast racetrack for a relatively flat speedway. There you can see it right there. Front stretch about 10 degrees, and you see the front stretch is a little bit longer. Speeds upwards of 175 miles an hour, Michael, on this racetrack.
And when you get down in the corner, Phil, you barely let off the gas. That's what's so crazy. Flat corners, fast times.
We talk attitudes, Michael. Were we talking about the drivers?
No, we're talking about the trucks, Rick. Look at the front end of that truck at Martinsville. The truck is way up in the air as he races down the straightaway. And now check out the same truck, the 2 truck, here in Kansas. He's glued to the ground. We need that truck to be glued to the ground. We want that nose to take advantage of all the aero you possibly can. 2 different attitudes. The one on the right today will be a good attitude for you to have.
Well, it's not the driver's attitudes, although those come into play a lot when we push the 175-mile-an-hour limit in the Camping World Truck Series. Let's get the engines fired. We go trackside for the command.
And now, race fans, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, Executive Vice President of SFP, Jake Sanders.
Drivers, start your engine!
Enthusiasm in that command, and that's exactly what we're seeing out of all the drivers. Enthusiastic to get this underway. Green flags next.
Welcome back. Getting ready for the 12th race at Kansas Speedway for the Camping World Truck Series. Only 3 drivers in the field have been to victory lane before here. Ron Hornaday, Todd Bodine, and Johnny Sauter have all visited victory lane at this track. Here's your starting lineup for the SFP 250. Winning the pole, his first pole, Tim George Jr. Jason Leffler will start on the outside.
Jason White, great qualifying effort for him. Starts back in row number 2. Ty Dillon finishes in the top 10 almost every single one of his career starts here in the Truck Series.
Nelson Piquet Jr. in row 4. Timothy Peters, Todd Bodine, 2 drivers very good on mile-and-a-half racetracks and teammates. Talking about teammates, the next row filled with teammates as well, Keselowski and Kligerman.
Yeah, those are 2 trucks you're probably going to have to beat to win this race today. Keselowski was sideways during qualifying, but yet right there on pace near the top 10. Ron Hornaday will be strong as well today.
See Matt Crafton back in row number 9, had coming off a great run at Rockingham last week.
Dakota Armstrong is Matt Crafton's teammate. The Thor Sports truck got on a roll last week. Let's see if they can continue this week.
Russ Duggar having problems with qualifying. He'll have to go to the back. They made some adjustments after qualifying, so that's why he will start at the back of the field. Jeb Burton, another start in the Camping World Truck Series. His education has ramped up quite a bit now as we go to a mile-and-a-half racetrack.
Yeah, they made an adjustment on Russ Duggar's truck on the whole front end, Rick. They adjusted a new nose on it. So he had a crash in qualifying, but a fast truck. Be interesting to see if Russ can come from the back.
Norm Benning, Jennifer Jo Cobb. A lot of you that joined us for qualifying thought that Jennifer Jo Cobb had missed the race. Well, a couple drivers withdrew, and that enabled Jennifer Jo Cobb to make this field. So that is why you saw Jennifer Jo Cobb's picture there in the final row.
That all important starting spot. She got one of them. Dennis Setzer and Scott Riggs withdrew from the race. That put Jennifer Jo in, and home track for her. I know it's a big deal to be in the race.
We love riding along with a few different drivers. Who are we going to ride along with today, Mikey?
Let's go with Brad Keselowski. Brad won the Cup race, won the Nationwide race here a year ago, finished 3rd in the other Cup race. He's pretty good here.
He's my pick. But we're also going to ride along with a guy that has won here in the Camping World Truck Series, Todd Bodine. He's in the Toyota Care Toyota, and he starts in the top 10 from the 9th spot.
Okay, this is going to be a fun ride. This dude had him beat at Rockingham last week. Nelson Piquet Jr. Look for him to be strong again today. Starting 8th. Think he can win this race.
Michael, we're also going to ride along with Justin Lofton. He ties his best career start here of 3rd in the CollegeComplete.com Chevrolet, and he's got top 10 finishes in all 3 of his starts so far this year.
We saw that coming after last year. That team was strong as the season ended last year, and he's rolled it right into 2012.
I want to take a look at our Royal Purple race analysis before we get underway with this one. It's a 250-mile race, 167 laps. The purse just over $500,000. And that pit window, very important, 50 to 55 laps.
This is a long race, 250 miles on this mile-and-a-half track.
Let's go down to pit road and Hermie Sadler.
Well, Rick, anything that could go wrong pretty much has gone wrong so far this year for Jason Leffler, driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports. Back in Daytona, had a good run going. He gets turned right into the wall, just about head on. He finishes 36. Last weekend at Rockingham, he qualifies up front, running in the top 5, right here. Boom, engine lets go. He finishes 34th. Well, they come to Kansas this weekend in a really bad need of a great run. And a good track this is for Jason Leffler. He's got a Cup pole here, a Truck Series pole here, and an average finish of about 5th. He could use one of those today. Ray?
You know, Hermie, speaking of Jason Leffler, in this series, he finished second 6 times before he got his first win at Dover, Delaware. And I've been looking at the list of other drivers who finished second but haven't got their first big win yet. And when you look at that list, some very impressive names. Can you believe that Brad Keselowski is on that line? Almost hard to imagine. But Ty Dillon, he's certainly one we think will get his next win. And look at the Turner trucks, a couple of drivers there. All these guys have finished second, many of them multiple times, and I believe one of them will break through today. Pretty sure it could be the 31 of James Buescher.
Rick, we talk about attitude. See those trucks right now? Tells you how important the air is to the way these trucks handle. Look how far the noses are up off the ground. As soon as they mat the gas, all the power goes to the rear tires. You'd think that's going to raise the front end up more, right? Wrong. They get going fast, and the air starts blowing those front ends down, and that's when you get that good attitude you're looking for.
They will hug the racetrack. We saw Ty Dillon in qualifying actually scraping the racetrack a little bit, as you mentioned, Phil, and during qualifying, that when the tire pressures come up, that will raise that attitude just enough to where we won't see that front end scrape.
And he's going to be fast because his truck must be near perfect to scrub along on the road during qualifying.
Well, this is a first for the driver of the number 2. Tim George Jr. has never brought the field to the green flag before, but after winning the pole, he'll do it today at Kansas. Green flag in the air, we're underway.
He didn't wait around to make sure anybody was ready to go like he was. He jumped on that gas early, got out ahead of Jason Leffler. Looked like he didn't do a very good job shifting gears, though.
Boy, Leffler comes strong from the outside. 3 wide already. Ty Dillon on the outside.
Coming out of turn number 2. 3 wide for the 3rd spot. Jay White was able to jump into 2nd. And now the battle for 3rd continues. Ty Dillon out in front. Justin Lofton on the bottom of the racetrack back into 4th.
There goes PK way up the hill. That's what
we got a truck in the wall already.
3 and 4.
A lot of smoke from that truck. Is that Jeb Burton?
That is Jeb Burton.
Jeb Burton scrapes the wall in 3 and 4, and it looks as though there's some fender damage to the right front.
Pretty good tire rub.
Yeah, we need to get. Oh, there it goes.
And against the wall hard goes Jeb Burton on lap 2.
We needed to get that thing to pit road.
Stay up first. Stay up first. Stay up first. Stay up first.
He tried to keep a lot of speed to get that truck to pit road without losing too much time, but you could tell a pretty significant tire rub, and the tire went down.
Take a look at why this happened. This is on lap 1 going into 3 and 4.
A lot of speed for Jeb, but just a little bit too much.
Remember, now Rockingham last week was the fastest that he'd ever gone in his career, and they add about 20 or 30 miles an hour to that, and that's how fast these guys run here.
It's all part of the learning process, man, and he learned right there that the right front tire blows out when you scrub the wall, and that's exactly what happened. And, you know, Phil, that sounds elementary, but Jeb's never experienced all these things at this speed, so tough break.
Sure, they will try to get that truck repaired as much as they can, because seat time is what Jeb Burton needs most right now.
When I saw the lap traffic coming, you know, I made my charge. You know, about 5 laps, 10 laps before he caught him, I started, you know, this full court press. I wore him down. You know, I know he was driving his butt off.
Here comes Biffle. He goes low on the racetrack. He's going to take the lead away from Jimmy Johnson off of turn 4.
Biffle will talk more about that amazing pass on 5 time when he joins the guys on NASCAR Race Day, fueled by Sunoco. That's tomorrow, 10:30 Eastern, getting you ready for the big race right here at Kansas Speedway.
Talking about a guy that hung it out. Greg Biffle put everything he had into that pass sideways, 180 miles an hour, and grabs the lead. And when you take chances like that, a risk like that, you wind up in victory lane with guns and pretty girls everywhere.
Well, also taking a risk early on in this race was Jeb Burton, and it didn't look like it paid off for me.
It did not, Rick. They brought the 27 to pit road, and just too much damage to repair on pit road, so Jeb has gone to the garage. Tough break after 2 solid runs of 13th and 11th. Tough break for the young rookie here in the 27 truck, Ray.
Hermie, I was listening to Ty Dillon in that Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet. He went way to the high side in the first couple laps of this race, and he said, I love the grip up there. It seems like it carries good momentum, and it's really fast. I went around a couple guys who were using the bottom lane, so watch for that 3 truck running up by the wall.
Remember, he won the ARCA race here a couple years ago. It was actually his second ARCA start ever, and he won here at Kansas. So he knows how to win here.
And we watched him learn that high groove yesterday in practice here on Speed. Moved up high, racing around Parker Kligerman, made the move up top, so he learned something in practice he's using today.
Pace car back off the racetrack and on pit road. Field back in the hands now of Jason Leffler and Jay White as they come to the stripe. Green flag back in the air. 3 and 4 wide as they enter turn number 1.
Jason White will try to keep that gunbroker.com truck wound up on the high side, is hanging with Jason Leffler.
These guys on new tires ran wide open to qualifying. Probably can't do it right now, but they're probably very, very close to it.
Still side by side for the lead, working through 3 and 4. Jay White on the high side. Leffler on the bottom of the racetrack. Leffler has the advantage to come out into the tri-oval, but it looks as though Jason White is going to lead that lap. So Jay White out in front of this field as they cross the stripe.
Justin Lofton's now moving into the 3rd spot ahead of Ty Dillon. Now he's back down to the bottom.
What about that pair of Jasons we talked about in the pre-race, Rick? Thought they would be strong, battling for the lead.
Battling for the lead still as they work their way down the backstretch. Leffler on the bottom of the racetrack. White up high. White keeps the momentum up. Leffler has to check up, and so it looks as though Jason White is going to take over the lead now.
Advantage to the outside for that corner.
Certainly. It looked like Jason Leffler got into turn 3 a little shallow, a little low, hit the white line, and he couldn't leave the gas down. Slid up, had to back out of the gas because Jason White was up on the high side. Ty Dillon talking about liking the high side. He's giving it a whirl already.
He's bringing some friends with him up there on the high side.
Keeping that momentum up on the high side. Take a look at the 3 truck here. A little close call for Ty Dillon.
Whoa. You can see Nelson Piquet there giving him a break. He said, okay, Ty, you're in a bit of a bind. It's early in the race. I love that move by Piquet. He could have forced the issue and put that truck right on Ty Dillon. He let him off the hook.
Look how tight it is, our top 5. Jason White out in front of Leffler, Lofton, Dillon, and Buscher. Dillon working to the high side of James Buscher now, trying to take that 4th spot away.
And you can look at the varying lines we talked about at the beginning of the race. From the very bottom, we see trucks running in the middle, and then up to the high side.
Dillon drops back just a bit behind the 31 of Buscher, holding on to that 5th spot still. So it's White, Leffler, Lofton, Buscher, Dillon, your top 5. Then Joey Coulter just outside the top 5. Todd Bodine, Nelson Piquet Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Timothy Peters, your top 10.
Watch where Keselowski's going, Rick. Way to the top side. We saw him about spin out during qualifying. That's why he isn't starting up near the front, but I expect he's going to make his way there. Truck right in front of him, Nelson Piquet Jr., another guy that'll turn up at the front of this field before the day's over.
And right behind him, Timothy Peters, top 5 finishes in all 3 races so far this year.
Talked about the pit window being around lap 50 to 55. Again, it's an impound race for the Truck Series, as every race is. That means that once they've qualified, they're not allowed to add any fuel to the truck. So that pit window on the first stop might be a little bit sooner than 50 to 55.
Yeah, you might even see a few trucks dip in below lap 50 if we go green the rest of the way until that point.
Nelson Piquet Jr. riding right behind the 11 of Todd Bodine.
Watch him keep that thing wound up on the high side, and look at the run he gets off the corner. Closing in on Todd Bodine, but Todd's going to take that space.
Wasn't off the throttle much either.
See the telemetry of where your race leader is running. Battle for the 3rd spot now.
James making the bottom of the racetrack work. He got up under Justin Lofton, and can he complete the pass?
He does get it done. We talked to James last night. Very, very pleased with this truck.
That's not going to be good. You see part of the decal looks like coming off the 3 of Ty Dillon.
That may be a plastic bag too that hung on the hood pin there.
I believe you're right, Phil.
Yeah, something like a plastic bag or something has come onto that racetrack and got hooked up on that pin, that hood pin. We've seen hoods fly up before on the 3 truck. When Austin Dillon was driving, the hood flew up in front of the windshield of Austin.
Wow, look at that speed shot. I love that shot where the trucks come flying off that corner. Hard to believe they can go much faster than that, but by the time they get to the other end of the straightaway, they've added about 10 more miles an hour.
Still driving in the 32-second bracket, at least some of the drivers. James Buescher goes under 33 seconds once again in that lap.
I think PK Jr. said, well, Todd, if you're not going to let me have the high side, I guess I'll try it a different way. And PK's really fast. He's going to drive it beside Todd, but we know, Phil, how hard this pass will be to complete.
He does a nice job giving a lot of room in between those trucks. We've seen so many times. We saw it in practice with Brian Silas, where the truck on the inside gets so loose. A lot of gap between those two trucks didn't cause that inside truck to get loose.
Jason White looking impressive here at Kansas. He has been close before. Can he close the deal today in Kansas?
I like the way that truck looks early. He's able to keep it pinned right to the bottom of the racetrack. I've seen him up in the middle of the track as well. Seems like maybe Jason's just trying to figure out what groove he likes the best, and certainly holding off an experienced racer and just Jason Leffler that has an extremely fast truck. So great job for Jay White.
We've got a lot of Jasons and Justins
up front,
yeah,
and Jameses.
How about some Todds and some Nelsons and maybe a Joey? Look at this pack.
There's Joey on the high side, Todd Bodine down below, and we're riding along with Nelson Piquet Jr. as that side-by-side battle continues.
Todd tries to make the move on the inside. A little bit of wiggle out of Joey Coulter's truck that may allow Todd to get the advantage up off the corner. He does have him cleared, just barely.
Joey
now
says
the crossover move, maybe working for him. No, Todd Bodine still has the advantage, but Nelson Piquet Jr. goes to the high side.
You could see just the variance in the entry on Joey Coulter's line into the corner. He gave that spot up. He kind of looked to the inside of Todd. He didn't have a big angle, a big sweep into the corner. His angle was shallow, and he had to lose his momentum, and Nelson Piquet was sitting there ready to jump on it.
We watched the telemetry on Nelson Piquet Jr.'s truck, not below 160 miles an hour in the corners.
The voice you heard there, keep it wind up. Mike Kalanoff spotting for Nelson Piquet Jr. and a lot of experience there from the spotter stand. He's been a part of championship seasons with Kansas.
No, say this isn't happening.
Motor shut off right away.
Ross Chastain, smoke coming out the back of that truck.
The Florida Watermelon board.
Motor shut off as soon as it started smoking. Just shut off by itself.
Truck, you could see a little bit of smoke out of the pipe itself, Phil, and that's never a good sign.
Yeah, I'd say more than likely probably terminal. Unfortunately for Ross Chastain, had a great 7th place run at Martinsville earlier this year for his best career finish.
The smoke from under the hood or from out the back, you might survive that. When it's just straight out of the pipes like that, that means a valve is more than likely broken and blew up. Look at there.
Sideways when it happened.
A little bit of oil on the track, maybe.
Put a little bit of fluid down. He got sideways in that fluid.
Battle for second. Buescher, the man on the move, trying to get by that 18 of Jason Leffler.
James Buescher serious about getting that first career win here.
Yeah, it could be a James Buescher day. That's a fast truck. He's able to drive around whoever he catches, and he certainly got the truck for the early part of the race.
Started back in the 6th spot, made his way up to 2nd. Now he's going to try to chase down Jay White.
The gap between Jason White and James Buescher, 0.6 of a second. So Buescher trying to reel in race leader Jay White. It has been a Jay White day here at Kansas, out in front of the field. Can he get that first win? Stay with us. The gap was 0.6 of a second. That has been closed to 0.2 of a second now between Jason White and James Buescher, battling for the lead in front of the field here at Kansas.
You know, guys, it's been almost 3 years since Ford has been in victory lane in our series. 70 races ago at Michigan, Colin Brown won for Roush Fenway.
That was a pretty epic battle, wasn't it? All the way to the checker with Colin Brown.
I believe so. I believe it was a very close finish.
Didn't he win by
that race?
Didn't he win by about an inch?
Yes. Justin Lofton just in front of that 11 of Todd Bodine. Those two fighting for 4th.
What about Mr. Mile and a Half, Todd Bodine? We talked yesterday. We really liked the way that truck looked in practice. Had a great attitude, and it was fast, and he's fast today.
talked to Todd yesterday, and I was talking to him. He was really disappointed with Rockingham. He'd been a winner there. He felt like he would run good. Their truck wasn't all that good, and then he bounced it off the fence. He said he went back and looked at some notes, and he found something out that he thought they were missing. And he told me last night, said, you know what we were talking about? I said, yeah. He said it worked. So whatever it was, whatever they found, they put it in that truck, and it worked, and he's making his move towards the front.
Hermie Sadler, what's happening on pit road?
Rick, a couple updates on pit road. The 08 of Ross Chastain came to pit road, and they have gone to the garage with what appears to be a broken part in the engine. They're going to diagnose it, but the crew chief said we appear to be all done. Also want to keep an eye on the racetrack on Timothy Peters in the 17, running decent lap times right now, but he has reported to his team that he's picked up a little bit of a vibration. So we'll watch the 17 in the next couple laps to see what's going on with him.
Those vibrations don't normally go away either.
No, and they're not good vibrations either.
As the Beach Boys would sing about.
Phil, can we go back to this Todd Bodine? There's no tricks in racing. I mean, these guys engineer these trucks out to the nth degree. Did he clue you in on maybe what he found?
He didn't. He said there was something we felt like we were missing, something that back when he was winning a lot of those mile-and-a-half races, some of the front suspension geometry, he said we weren't there. We tried it yesterday and it worked just like it should have.
Well, and he's showing it too. That's a really, really good run for the team. Saw him a little bit yesterday, and then today, look at Lofton slide up the hill. Looks like PK will make a run to the inside. Can't quite get there.
See how much these tires have fallen off now. 154 miles an hour we saw on PK's telemetry. He was up over 160 all the way through the corner just 10 laps ago.
Making their way around that 57 of Norm Benning.
Having to work that throttle to make sure that he didn't lose the front end off on that truck.
Let's listen to him and see what kind of... He's wanting to go 80, Phil.
Feathering the throttle as he goes through 3 and 4.
That's fun to listen to. You could tell how much he was on and off and on and making progress the whole time. I'm really impressed with Nelson Piquet Jr., not just because of Rockingham, but ever since he showed up. This is totally new to him, and he has taken to it very well.
To me, it goes to show you that when you have really, really good race car drivers from wherever they may come, you put them in a competitive vehicle, and they're going to get the job done.
And he's a driver who has said, I don't want to miss any steps. I'm going to do what I can to learn my trade here, and then I'll progress up. I don't want to skip any steps in my quest to be in the Cup Series.
Well, and you just that's knowledge right there, experience. You could see him get down underneath Justin Lofton, and it just wouldn't stick. And he didn't get himself in a bind. He got in there where he knew he had an out. He needed an exit, and he got it.
Just behind Nelson Piquet Jr., the 3 of Ty Dillon. What are they talking about, Ray?
Well, he started 5th today, Rick, but I'll tell you, he is telling him guys on the radio that he's very loose in, about a 5, and somewhere between a 5 and a 7 loose off. So they need to make some adjustments for that truck. He did jump forward early, but he's dropped back to 7th right now. And what's interesting, listening to the other drivers on my end, guys, is a lot of people saying their trucks are pretty good in turns 1 and 2, but terrible in 3 and 4. And yesterday in practice, it was just the opposite.
And I think the wind had a lot to do with that. Right. They were talking about those trucks being really tight because of the wind blowing that truck across towards turn 2. And now that's not the case. The wind has really died down from what it was yesterday.
And even in qualifying, I mean, the drivers were all trying to mat it the whole time around, but everybody could say they could pretty much go through 3 and 4 wide open, but 1 and 2 was the one where they had to feather just a bit.
And that's all different now. These trucks are slipping and sliding. We get a caution here in a bit, get us some tires, and we'll make an adjustment and see if we can get the truck more suitable to what the drivers like. These teams can make serious stabs at trying to change the handling, air pressure, some wedge, some suspension adjustments. All those things are what the crew chiefs are considering when they listen to their drivers and see what they're telling them how to work on those trucks.
James Buescher to the inside of Jason White. Battle for the lead as they work their way into 1.
Buescher led that lap at the start-finish line. Jason fights back on the outside. A lot of lap trucks coming up.
You know, Jason he's not going to lay over. He wants to lead this race. He's got that Ford out front, and he wants to keep it there. James is fast down on the bottom, but they're catching some lap traffic. See if, sideways for Jason White. Told you he wanted to keep that truck out front.
Trying the high side. James Buescher on the bottom of the track. Can he clear him now that they've got the slower lap traffic in front of him? Buescher in front of the field at Kansas. Ryan Sieg all the way to the apron in the 39, staying out of the way.
Whoa. Look out, Jay White.
Very tight right now as they're working through the slower lap traffic. James Buescher out in front. Caution comes out.
You already got 5 on him. Caution's out.
Debris in turn number 1 is what we're hearing from NASCAR.
You know, I was just going to say, Michael, when you were talking about all the adjustments that the crew chiefs can make, this length of race, you're going to get probably more opportunities, probably at least 3 pit stops here, where normally we wouldn't get but 1 or 2. So there'll be a little bit of time to adjust in these trucks.
And one guy that's going to need to really adjust on his, I think, is Brad Keselowski. We talked about him winning the Cup race here last year and the Saturday race. Heck, he didn't go anywhere when they started this race. Made a big jump the first lap or 2, but then he stabilized in the back half of the top 10. So he'll need to get in and work on that thing.
Pace car has made its way out in front of the field, in front of James Buescher. Jason White, Leffler, Bodine, and Lofton, your top 5. Again, debris on the racetrack has brought this second caution out. The first one when Jeb Burton got into the wall. That was early in the race on lap number 2. Ryan Sieg is going to be the recipient of the Aaron's Lucky Dog.
And he won't be the last one. Aaron's will give you a lucky dog. Get you back on track, and that's what's happening with Ryan Sieg right now.
Uh-oh. Not a good sign coming out of the 23. Steam already in the overflow.
These guys put as much tape, Phil, on the front of these trucks as they can possibly stand so that you get all that aerodynamic.
Turn your fan on. You got water blowing out of it.
All the aerodynamic help you can get from the air pushing down on the nose instead of going under the hood. When they were running at speed, plenty of air to cool that engine, but now under caution, riding around directly behind James Buescher. Jason's truck was a little bit hot.
Teams are ready, up on the wall. James Buescher leading the field onto pit road. Let's find out what's happening on the pit stops. We go to Hermie Sadler.
Well, Rick, James Buescher has been a little bit tight from the center of the corner off to the straightaways, but they don't want to make a big adjustment because now they're up front. So only an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and Sunoco fuel for the 31, Ray.
And Jason White had already told his crew chief, Doug George, I need a little tape off of the front of the nose. Said he's slightly tight in traffic, so they went down a ½ pound on the left rear. Also for Jason Leffler, just ahead of him, they're going to make an air pressure adjustment on the right front, but he said pretty neutral all the way around. The 23 will get down and away, but it looks like James Buescher may be the first to the exit of pit road.
Looks like Todd Bodine may have won that battle.
Todd Bodine wins the race off of pit road just in front of 31 of James Buescher. So a very happy Todd Bodine coming off of pit road. We've had some great 2 and 3 wide racing already at Kansas Speedway. Into the wall early was Jeb Burton. He's at the garage. It was the 11 of Todd Bodine winning the race off pit road. One more time around and we'll get the green flag to get the SFP 250 back underway at Kansas Speedway. Again, the second caution coming out for debris. NASCAR has cleaned up the racetrack. And how about the veterans at this racetrack? Hornaday and Bodine together combined win 25 mile-and-a-half races.
Yeah, and both of them have won here. We've had 3 former winners at this racetrack in the field. No, that's 2 of them right there.
The only one with more wins, Kyle Busch, not in the field, but his truck is in the field, currently in the 4th spot. Actually running 3rd right now.
Be interesting to see what the adjustments these teams did, how they affect the running order. You know, we watched James Buescher drive from outside the top 5 to the lead, and Jason White started 4th and wound up leading a lot of this race too. Now everybody's had a chance to work on their trucks. Todd Bodine starting on the outside. He won the race off pit road, his choice. He picked the high side. I like that, Phil.
I do too. He can keep it wound up. He doesn't have to worry about getting down in the corner on the bottom and getting loose under that truck on the outside.
Remember, when they came onto pit road, the 23 of Jason White looked as though he might have a little bit of an overheating issue, but on pit road they pulled some tape off, so should cool it down a bit. But will that affect the handling?
It will affect the handling, but he also was reporting a little bit of a tight condition.
The 11 of Todd Bodine leads this one, right?
Just 1 pound out of the left rear. Todd Bodine told his crew chief, Rick Gay, don't mess up the center of the corner. We got a pretty good piece in that Toyota Care Tundra.
So Bodine brings the field back to the green flag. James Buescher on his inside. Bodine picks the outside. Green flag back in the air.
Oh, trouble.
Looks like
Joey Coulter was very, very slow on the restart there. A couple trucks had to take some evasive action on the inside.
Saw Johnny Sauter move hard to the left.
Ty Dillon may have been right behind Joey Coulter.
Looks like they survived it though, Phil. I didn't see any real hard contact, so maybe nobody messed up their nose or radiator.
Side by side for the lead. Buescher on the inside, Bodine on the outside. Oh, around goes the 9 of Hornaday. Save it again. Coming out for he does, but a hard hit behind him. The 14 of Brendan Newberry, hard into the wall. Also the 81 of David Starr.
And Paulie Haraka, there's Paulie's truck with a lot of damage.
What a hit by Newberry, though.
That's hard right-hand turn by Newberry and straight into the wall in turn 4.
Look at the damage on Paulie Haraka's Richie Waters Motorsports truck.
And look how
almost head on, wasn't it?
Blunt, the front end is squared off on that truck.
See the helmet moving. You always want to see the window net go down. A lot of damage with the 81. You see, can't turn the wheels. Also involved in this, the 12 of Russ Duggar.
Was Duggar the truck that went into the outside wall, Rick? That front end looks like it's
messed up as well. Let's take another look. This is going through 3 and 4.
A little bit of contact right there with Paulie Haraka and Ron Hornaday. That's what starts this. Is Hornaday going to save that truck again?
Hornaday saves it again. Now look at these two. Contact there. Duggar gets into
David Starr.
And then it's the hard hit by the 14.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he went out of our camera view, he got clipped and was turned sideways.
Take another look at
Brendan Newberry in the 14.
Watch Newberry.
See, watch the Newberry. That truck's going to catch.
Yeah, he had it cranked to the right to try to save it. He overcorrected it and went into the outside wall. Check out what Brad Keselowski sees. He sees Paulie Haraka. We talked about PK.
Paulie got loose and got into Hornaday.
We talked about PK giving himself some room to get out of a situation. Paulie's new at this stuff. He didn't give himself room, made contact with Hornaday, and crashed.
So the 14 of Brendan Newberry gets into the side of the 81.
Watch this picture.
Those two slide, but just out of your picture, that 14 is going to slide up the wall.
Been a tough time for the front of that 12 truck.
We know Ron Hornaday is able to save a truck that gets about 45 degrees out of control.
I can't believe.
Remember back when he and Johnny Sauter got together in 2010 in a battle for the lead late in the race for the win. Let's take a look at that right now.
Synchronized sliding. Hornaday in the 33, Sauter in the 13.
Look at that.
Amazing. And by the way, those trucks finished 1-2 at the end of that race. And Johnny Sauter got a bunch of cake in his face.
That thing looked a whole lot. That day he was racing for a win. Just then he was racing to survive. Got clipped in the right rear, or left rear, excuse me. You could see the Goodyear is rubbed off that left rear tire.
Still very early in this race. We're only 25% of the way through. And Ron Hornaday sideways.
Look at that left rear quarter, guys.
But not a lot of damage on the number 9. A lot of other trucks, though, you can't say the same. Russ Duggar in the 12. Hard hit on the 81 of David Starr. Welcome back. Continuing to clean up turns 3 and 4. Russ Duggar in the 12. Not a very good day for that team. After hitting the inside wall in qualifying, they fixed the truck, got it back out there, but he's involved in this incident. Paulie Haraka also involved in the 5. He was the one that got into the back of the 9. The 9 of Ron Hornaday actually coming out almost unscathed.
Well, he deserved to be. Did you see that driving job he did?
Yeah.
He had that baby wrecked and drove it out of there.
A very, very hard hit by the 14 of Brendan Newberry. So they take those trucks back behind the wall. Here's another look. That's the contact initially that starts this.
Yeah, Paulie got a little bit loose, had to chase his truck up the hill, made contact with the left rear quarter around Hornaday.
Look at Hornaday. He's got that gas on the floorboard, and he's driving that baby out of town.
David Starr was run into by the 14 of Brendan Newberry, and that's what put him sideways up into Paulie Haraka. And then Russ Duggar came along and made some pretty significant contact with the 81 of David Starr.
Here's another look. Sideways, Hornaday stays off the wall, saves it. 4 other trucks not so lucky.
There's the aftermath of the 14 of Newberry getting into the outside wall.
Watch this truck of Newberry right there.
Right there.
Boom.
How about the safer barrier? How about how the safer barrier gave when he made that head-on contact?
Phil, you and I have had the misfortune of hitting concrete like that, and that stuff doesn't give. Concrete's undefeated. The safer barrier, it takes a licking, and these guys are able to look at that.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, we're over forever with the concrete walls. Yeah.
I can't wait to tell my kids one day. I used to race around tracks that had concrete walls.
Take a look. He's a little bit out of whack right now.
Right in here is where the 14 is.
Watch him head into that wall.
And look, and see the safer barrier give there.
And the truck completely off the ground.
When you see all the damage on that 14 truck, it would be significantly worse had it not been for the safer barrier.
And he wouldn't be feeling very well right now.
And the construction of these trucks. I mean, there's give built into the front of these trucks as well. That has happened over years and years.
We just learned so much over the over our history, over the 60 years we've been in this business. We've learned so much, and it just gets better and better.
So Paulie Haraka, another difficult day for that team, as they thought they had a great truck at Rockingham, a little bit too loose for Haraka to handle, and we see the 9 of Ron Hornaday making his way onto pit road. Hermie.
Yeah, Rick, obviously they're going to need to put 4 tires on this 9 truck for Ron Hornaday. Also, as we chronicled in practice yesterday and qualifying this morning, the 9 truck had a throttle linkage issue in practice. They weren't getting full throttle, weren't getting full travel on the nose in the front of the corner. Well, now with the truck being better as far as full throttle, they need to make adjustments to the front of the truck to get the splitter off of the racetrack. So they're going to take advantage of this opportunity to get tires and do a little bit of work on the front of this 9 truck for Ron Hornaday.
Really nobody to beat on pit road. Have plenty of time. He's only one of 2 trucks on pit road right now, so they're taking extra time, and they're actually looks like they're raising the front jack screws, Michael. It looks like to get that front end up off the racetrack.
Well, Ron had been struggling. He was running back in about the 14th spot prior to the last couple of cautions, so it's a good chance for him to work on that truck a little bit.
So once again, 5 trucks involved in this one. The hardest hit, the 14 of Brennan Newberry. Coverage of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. By Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. And by Sleep In, dream better here. Book now at sleepin.com. Welcome back. Pit road is clean and clear as all the trucks back on the racetrack getting back in line for the restart. The 9 of Ron Hornaday involved in this incident, but an amazing save. Listen to what he had to say to his team.
That was a hell of a save right there, boy. Be tired, but I saved it. Woo! Wait till you see it on a replay, boys. That was pretty cool.
Pretty
cool.
Ron,
we knew you could do it. It's the same thing you did in 2010 when you almost won the race.
We've seen it before. He's had experience at that type of running through 3 and 4, and I'm sure he doesn't want to do it again. Out in front of the field, James Buescher, Todd Bodine on the inside. Buescher and Bodine, 1 and 2 across the stripe. Green flag back in the air.
Buescher just got the lead when he was on the bottom. It was his choice. He took the top. I guess he thought it was a lot of work to get the lead down there on the bottom.
3 wide. Timothy Peters on the bottom of the racetrack. A good run for Buescher. How about Jason Leffler challenging for second? He tucks in behind the 11 of Todd Bodine.
It's like Timothy Peters is going to be the odd man out. A lot of trucks lined up on the outside of Peters driving around him.
3 wide again. Looks like Brad Keselowski's making a move around the top side. Brad's back just outside of the top 15.
I'd say that's because of a lot of adjustments on that truck maybe during the pit stops, Phil. It's not handling well early, Ray. What are they saying down there in his pit?
Mikey, it wasn't good at all early on for sure. Brad said we need big swing at it. They added a rubber in the left rear, made a track bar adjustment, a wedge adjustment, and air pressure on the right front. So lots of stuff. And Brad said, I'm going to be patient with this. Remember, guys, this is a long race, but we're not good enough to win the way it sits right now.
That's the nice thing about Brad. He knows what feel he needs to get to victory lane. He's done it here before.
Well, that's like we saw Haraka make that mistake and run into Hornaday, causes a crash. We saw Nelson Piquet back out, leave himself some room not to cause a problem. Keselowski's the same way. These guys get experience. They understand what all has to go into winning a race, and you're not going to take chances early if you're going to be a winner.
They know there's at least 2 more stops. I mean, you can't win this race without stopping 2 more times, so there is still a lot of time left in this race. Nelson Piquet Jr. just in front of Jason White and Timothy Peters. Those two battling for position.
Still there, 23.
6th and 7th, Peters and White. White and Peters now.
Riding along with the collegecomplete.com Chevrolet, Justin Lofton.
Had a lot of our military folks in his pit down there on pit road. That's cool to see. Folks from Fort Riley enjoying a Saturday afternoon at the races. To me, doesn't get much better than a Saturday afternoon at the races. Whether it's trucks or cars, I don't care. I just like people that race.
Yeah, certainly our whole lives, that's what it's been. Saturdays at the racetrack.
And a gorgeous day for racing. Mid-60s. Sun has been shining. Right now, Justin Lofton right in between White and Justin Lofton. Right?
The problem with Justin Lofton's truck, guys, is he cannot drive it up on the high side. He said if he gets up high, it just will not turn, wants to jet out towards the wall. So they made an adjustment on that last round of pit stops for him to try to help him get down to the bottom. He said so far it's neutral in the middle, but won't turn up high.
He went up high that time. That allows Joey Coulter in the 22 truck to get underneath him. Justin's going to fight back with the momentum from the high side.
I like watching kids that get their arms around this thing, and these two are great examples of that. Both Coulter and Justin Lofton see battling here inside the top 10. They get it.
We talked about it last week. A lot of top 10 finishes. Joey Coulter, about half his career starts have ended up in top 10 finishes. Justin Lofton has really come on strong here lately. All 3 races this year, top 10 finishes.
Working out of the ARCA Racing Series, getting a lot of experience there in stock cars, moving into the Camping World Truck Series.
Both of those drivers have a long background in the ARCA Racing Series.
And on the inside, it's Joey Coulter still trying to get by the 24 of Max Gresham around into the wall. A little contact as he slides back down the racetrack. Can he keep it down
rear
there?
damage here.
He does. The caution comes out again. So the 4th caution already today, as we have just completed 55 laps of racing.
You see him, he goes underneath Cale Gale. Cale comes all the way down the racetrack. I'm not sure that Cale really knew he was down there. Pinched him down, got his left sides underneath the white line, and he lost control of the back end of that truck.
Yeah, I think Cale Gale didn't know Max was going to go in that hole and cut him off, and Max didn't have anywhere to go. Truck gets sideways. He could have run over Cale, tried to keep it off Cale, and spun out.
Watch Ron Hornaday come along right behind Max. That's Ron.
That's big damage.
The evasive action.
A lot of smoke that Ron was avoiding there as he saw the 24 go sideways.
You know, when you're down there in that smoke, you can't see anything. We got a pretty good view up above it, but Ron was blinded by that smoke, and he made his way through it.
It's been about 20 laps since the first round of pit stops.
I want some gas. I maybe want 2 tires.
Maybe an adjustment.
Let's do it, Rick. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. And then it will be just one more stop potentially from here if we would continue green. You could make it 50 to 55 laps. Yesterday, it was the 33 of Cale Gale going by the 99 of Brian Silas. That got Silas around. This time might have been a little bit more of real estate what brought Max Gresham around.
But that's what these guys are dealing with. Anytime you're side by side with another truck, it makes that inside guy's truck go crazy.
And again, the damage is to the right rear of this 24 Max Gresham. You see it better now as he comes onto pit road.
Pit road is closed, but Max realizes that they have a lot of damage to attend to. So where he restarts this race is not real important at this point.
110 laps of racing to go.
Yeah, that's going to, he might be able to finish, but that's going to be enough damage there. He's not going to be very fast.
The crew will go to work.
We need more than a rubber hammer, I think. Maybe not.
Talked a little bit about Joe Donette. It's Joe Donette Motorsports driver Max Gresham.
Yellow Stripes is getting a lucky dog from Aaron's.
Scott Stenzel will get a lap back courtesy of Aaron's and our lucky dog.
May 19th, the All-Stars are out and battling for $1 million. It's the greatest All-Star event in sports, the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race, May 19th, right here on Speed at 7 Eastern.
I like our All-Star Race. Everything matters there. You're running close to 200 miles an hour.
Except points.
Yeah. Everything matters with how you fare.
You throw it all on the line to get the win.
Thank you. That's all that matters.
That is all that matters.
That's what I was trying to say.
How about the 24 of Max Gresham? A wild ride for that driver and truck. Let's listen in to what he had to say on the radio.
There wasn't enough room for me down there, apparently. My bad.
Well, in your defense, you would have hoped to have gotten a little bit more room, but let me go back to what we saw PK do early, save his truck, what we saw Haraka not be able to do. You can't assume anything. If you assume Cale Gale's going to give you room and you get in there and he doesn't, you're the one that's going to pay the price. So you got to have an exit strategy, and Max Gresham didn't have an exit strategy. Ray, what's happening, bud?
Hey, Michael, just wanted to tell you 2 trucks that pitted on my end I wanted to give you updates on. One, our pole setter, Tim George Jr. He came in, said his truck has been jumping out of gear, so they're going to get a bungee cord, but he pitted on lap 58, as well as did Dakota Armstrong in the effort by Toyota. Now, these guys will have a very different fuel window. We've only run 7 or 8 green flag laps in that last section, but it might give them a 12-lap differential than the trucks that are up front by pitting on lap 58.
The other thing it does is it opens the window for those trucks that stopped here to make one more stop. If this were to go green, and we're not saying that it will or won't, but if it were to go green, they have to stop one more time. Everybody else will have to stop twice.
Yeah, there's about 110 laps to go from the time they stopped, and we set our pit window somewhere between 50 and 55 laps, so they may have to stretch it a little bit, but it's a possibility.
The Brain Trust talking it over, trying to figure out what's the right move at this point in time in the race. 60 laps complete of 167 scheduled from Kansas Speedway for the SFP 250 for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Out in front of the field, James Buescher. Todd Bodine running second.
Todd Bodine's used to running up front. Rick, in 2005, he led 81 laps here on his way to victory. So no stranger to the front of the field.
Maybe a little strategy. Brad Keselowski comes down pit road. Maybe he got into his fuel window for one more stop. Also gives him an opportunity to make some adjustments.
And you know he's been working on that truck. See if they do anything more. Yeah, there's a wedge adjustment. And Rick, you're right. He said, man, I need these options. I don't have the fastest truck today. Maybe I can do something to make my truck a little bit better, but also give me some strategy that might gain me the track position I need.
So the 19 on and off pit road.
It's cool to see sponsors coming aboard. Waste Management on the hood there, Checkered Flag Foundation. This is Brad's team. He's all in. He loves racing. His family racers owning teams their whole lives, and Brad's just carrying on the tradition.
I know we're only a third of the way in it, but the 19 of Brad Keselowski doing what he can to figure out a win here, right?
Well, and they wanted to make one more adjustment on that for sure, Rick, but I think you're right. It puts him in the fuel window. And we were talking in the practice show yesterday. I wanted to mention about the sponsorship on there. You're right, Mikey. It is his foundation, but also he has Waste Management on the hood. And the reason Brad put that there is because Waste Management hires more veterans than any other company in the United States right now. And he thought that was a pretty cool thing. So a little tribute for Waste Management. And don't forget, tomorrow's Earth Day.
Ah, it is. And Jimmy Johnson's car for the race tomorrow has an earthy look to it. It's green or something.
I know who might have a little bit of a green tint to their skin right now. That's Hornaday after what he's been able to do on this racetrack. Time for the Ram guts and glory of the race. Wild ride for the 9 of Hornaday.
A little bit of contact from Paula Haraka. Turned Ron sideways.
Now watch Ron drive into the smoke. Can't see anything but Mrs. Gresham going low. Wow.
Well, only 62 laps into this race, and Ron Hornaday is already thinking, man, what is happening at Kansas?
Still in the game, though, man.
Definitely still in the hunt. Again, Ron Hornaday on the racetrack, the most mile-and-a-half wins. Johnny Sauter decides it's time to make a stop on pit road. So as they got the 1 to go sign, Johnny Sauter ducks onto pit road. He was running 13th at the time. Decides that it's time to get a pit stop.
Hadn't been a very Johnny Sauter-like day. He hasn't had the speed in that truck, so Late pit stop there gives them some options on the strategy. Probably made an adjustment.
I just like the fact that now he is in his window, just like Brad Keselowski, because if this race goes green and these races are subject to, then he knows that he can more than likely make this thing at one more stop. Or certainly he can go longer than the other guys. We know within about 20 laps, these guys are going to have to make some green flag pit stops.
Yeah, if I'm near the back half of the top 10 or top 15, I'm gonna pit. I gotta have a chance to do something different than the leaders do. That's what you want to do. When you don't have a fast truck, don't do what the leaders do, because they're going to beat you.
Change up the strategy. So a few drivers have done that, not the ones out front though. James Buescher, Todd Bodine bring the field back to the green flag, and it is in the air.
See, on the outside, Joey Coulter again slow on this restart. That opened up the outside lane. Justin Lofton jumped out there in the outside lane, then Jay White moved up in front of him.
Buescher with a hard turn through 1 and 2, able to get by the 11 of Todd Bodine, clears him down the backstretch.
You see how close these guys are on the racetrack? Well, they sat side by side at dinner last night.
That's right. 3 wide through 3 and 4. Right in the middle, Jason White on the outside, the 22 of Joey Coulter making the move. Nelson Piquet Jr. on the bottom of the racetrack.
Here comes Lofton on the outside. Leaves Jason White in the middle.
Jason doesn't want to be in the middle, but Lofton made a good, strong move up the outside. Is going to bring Ty Dillon along with him.
See, Hornaday's joined that battle as well, along with Miguel Paludo in the 32 truck.
Hornaday trying to find the line to run around this racetrack. Now he chooses the bottom behind Jason White. Parker Kligerman just in front of Timothy Peters, Joey Coulter, Leffler back there. Ray, what's happening with Coulter?
Well, guys, if you've noticed, his restarts haven't been that great. He came on the radio a while ago and said, guys, I'm having a big problem shifting from second to third. Now, keep in mind, in all of these races, Richard Childress is here to help along his teams. He listens to all of them and talks back to them. He said to Joey, remember, make that shift as fast as you can. He said that helped a little bit this last time.
Timothy Peters just in front of Joey Coulter. Then it's back to the 18 of Jason Leffler, Nelson Piquet Jr., Justin Lofton, Ty Dillon, Hornaday at the bottom of the track.
Jay White behind Hornaday. That's your top 10. Jason White just outside of the top 10 right now.
Yeah, he led this race early and got back in that traffic fill, and that changes the way your truck handles. If it was right out front with all the air on the nose, we talked about him pulling some tape off to cool the engine better. That'll make the front end push some more, and now all the traffic's going to make the front end not work as well either. So Jason's struggling right now. See if he can make an adjustment and get his truck back toward the front. On the other hand, Hornaday's making some progress now.
It's hard to believe that you could take a little piece of tape off. You're talking about just a handful of square inches of tape off that grill, and it will adjust how that truck handles.
Another truck that was good early and is falling back is that truck of Justin Lofton, the 6 truck. He's not as good as he once was.
There's Paludo trying to make the move on Jason White. Here comes Brad Keselowski. Remember, Brad was on pit road during this most recent caution.
But as good once as he ever was. That's the end of that song, by the way.
Yes.
Nelson Piquet Jr. on the high side, Leffler on the low side. He's going to lose the spot. Miguel Paludo, Nelson Piquet Jr.'s teammate, also making the pass on the 23 now of Jay White.
Jason Leffler checking out the line that Piquet Jr.'s decided to run, see if he can learn something there. Brad Keselowski's peeking to the inside of Jay White.
It's a battle for the 12th spot. Matt Crafton's going to join that battle as well.
You wonder how tough this series is. You got the guy that won a cup race here a year ago and a nationwide race. He's racing along for the 12th spot. It's pretty crowded in truck racing. Matt Crafton led a lot of the race last week at Rockingham. He's joining that battle.
End up with a great top 5 finish.
And Crafton talked about he thinks he's got a pretty good truck here for this race and closing in on the halfway point of this one. Again, 167 laps scheduled. We've completed 70. Buescher out in front. These two battling for position. Parker Kligerman
holding on to the 3rd spot. Peters running 4th, but Kligerman the top ram on the racetrack. Hermie?
Yeah, Rick, he's a top ram on the racetrack, but he is not happy with the way his truck is performing right in the center of the corner. This is his best track position of the day, but he is loose right in the center, especially at turns 3 and 4. So let's watch Parker Kligerman to see if he's able to hold off Timothy Peters and the trucks behind him.
You know, I was thinking about, we talked to Todd Bodine earlier, and you said he found something in his truck that he liked, and he's running up in the 2nd spot. We haven't seen a whole lot of speed out of him lately. Struggled all through 2011. Do you remember back in 2010 when they got on that roll, won the races, raced off to the championship? It was a test session they went to, and they said, we found something at this test session, and we like our truck sound. And it paid off. Could that be sort of what's happening this year?
Certainly could have. Certainly could have. They did it in practice. It wasn't a test session. They went back and poured over notes on how his trucks have been probably back in 2010.
Well, I'm impressed with him today, and certainly remember that well because he was dominant in 2010.
Joey Coulter giving chase to the 29 of Parker Kligerman.
Kligerman struggling with his truck in the center of the corner, and that's really difficult here because you just run so much gas, Bill. You leave the pedal down so long that if you can't transition through the middle of the turn, you lose all your momentum up onto the straightaways, and that's probably why Coulter's closing in.
Trying a different line now. Joey Coulter goes to the high side. Kligerman stays down at the bottom of the racetrack. Multiple lines here at Kansas.
Options. You have options at this racetrack. Parker Kligerman on the bottom. Joey Coulter can move to the high side.
Lapping Norm Benning. 57 down on the bottom of the track.
Timothy Peters was in that battle just a few moments ago with Parker Kligerman. He's taken over that 3rd spot, and what a terrific start to the season for Timothy Peters.
Our point leader after 3 races coming into this 4th race.
You know, when I think consistency, he's the guy that comes to mind. He's fast, he wins, but you can count on him getting a good, consistent run week in and week out. And to contend for a championship, that's what you got to do. But I think nowadays, to win a championship, you better win some races along the way.
We talk about winning championships. Parker Kligerman came oh so close in the ARCA Racing Series. Now he's currently 6th in the point standings in the Camping World Truck Series. Joey Coulter just behind him on the racetrack and currently 8th in the point standings.
There's Nelson Piquet Jr. now.
Joining that battle, isn't he, Phil?
Joining that battle, sure is.
Those guys, looks like maybe Kligerman's holding up this group. And
Ray, it looked solid for the 18 early on as he started on the front row, but he seems to have been dropping back, now running 7th.
Yeah, and the position that he's in right now, Eric Phillips has reminded him that we're okay right there. We're one adjustment away from making this thing really, really good. But listen to this. Leffler actually said his truck is running too cool, only about 200 degrees, and we don't hear that very often. Most of the time we hear a driver saying way, way too hot. So maybe they'll throw a little tape on the nose of that Shore Lodge Toyota Tundra. Also wanted to give you a quick update on Brad Keselowski in the number 19. He came on the radio moments ago and said, guys, I feel like the adjustments we've made to the truck have made it better, but the problem is I'm not gaining on anybody. So start giving me lap times. I got to work on my angles in the corner. Give me lap times. I need more info.
I like working on angles, swinging in a little high. Just try anything. You hear lap after lap what you're doing. That's just a guy, a veteran guy, trying to figure out why, despite the fact that he likes his truck pretty good and we know he's a good driver, how come I'm not going anywhere?
Yeah, and he wants to know his lap time, so he wants to know, okay, if I take a little later entrance into the corner, did that help my lap time? Sometimes it's hard to tell by feel whether you ran faster or not.
Parker Kligerman still in front of Joey Coulter. Those two have been trying to figure out the best line around this 1.5 miles to decide this position. It looks like Coulter's got a great run on the inside of Kligerman now.
Meanwhile, the 30 truck of Nelson Piquet caught them while they were doing all this stuff. He just passed them both and is driven away. He's got the 2nd fastest truck on the track last time by. He was within just a couple of hundredths of a second of being faster than our leader, James Busher. So Piquet's on his way.
So Coulter just in front of Parker Kligerman. We saw the 18 of Jason Leffler also joining this group.
Guys, we're 10, 15 laps away from possible green flag pit stops. We know Ron Hornaday came in the caution after the majority of the field, so he's got about 9 or 10 laps cushion. And then Brad Keselowski came in even after that, so he can go a lot longer.
Johnny Sauter, another driver who came onto pit road toward the end of that last caution to top off the fuel and make any adjustments.
I love a good change in the plot, don't you? Heading a new direction.
James Busher, he wants to head a new direction, and that's to victory lane. He hasn't been there in the Camping World Truck Series, but he still has 87 laps in front of him before he can make that turn into victory lane. Can he hang on? That's the big question right now as we pass the halfway point. Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. Still out in front of the field, it is James Busher. The SFP 250 past the halfway point. Just 82 laps remaining. We want to drop back through the top 10. We'll start off with Busher and that 31. Started 6th in this race. Has already led 45 laps of the 85 that have been run. So he has been a dominant truck, but still his best finish in the trucks, 2nd. And he's done it 4 different times. Most recently, Rockingham a week ago.
Well, we know the guy running 2nd right now, Todd Bodine, knows how to win on a mile-and-a-half racetrack. He's won a bunch of them. Right now, about 1 second behind James Busher. He led 81 laps in his win here in 2005.
Timothy Peters has started the 2012 season off with 3 straight top 5 finishes. And Timothy's currently running inside the top 5 in the 3rd spot, but he's got his hands full. Nelson Piquet Jr. has driven up to the tailgate of that number 17 truck, and in fact is trying to get by him right now, Rick. It's been a good battle between these two.
The Brazilian had a dominant race truck back in Rockingham 1 week ago. Wasn't able to seal the deal after a speeding penalty getting off of pit road, but now a pretty dominant truck here as he runs in the 4th spot, a very good top 5, and he's challenging for that 3rd position.
Should be no surprise that Joey Coulter's running in the 5th position right now. He's had that's his best career finish, and he's done it 5 times, coming off a great 6th place run. As we continue to watch this battle for 3rd, there's Joey Coulter right there running 5th, trying to improve on that best career finish here at Kansas.
And riding along behind Joey Coulter and Joe Danette Motorsports truck, we talked to Joe before the race in our setup show, is Ron Hornaday. And man, he's made a run through the field, hasn't he, Phil? Early on, a little bit of a struggle. They pitted. He about crashed twice. They pitted, got the truck worked on. It's fast now, and he's heading toward the front. Plus, he's got a little bit more gas than the rest of the guys. It'll be interesting to see how this strategy plays out. But a great run through the middle part of this race for Ron Hornaday.
Parker Kligerman holding on to the 7th spot right now. He started 11th. Well, 11 has been a pretty big number for him already, especially at this racetrack. He finished 11th at Daytona, 11th at Martinsville. His best finish at Kansas is 11th back in 2011. But he has a 2nd place finish in the Camping World Truck Series, wanting to improve on that today.
Here's the 18 truck of Jason Leffler. Had a top 10 finish at Martinsville. Otherwise, we documented the struggles this year for Jason Leffler. Will not be in this truck for the full schedule. We'll run with the majority of the races. Brian Scott will also be in this truck for at least 5 races. Crew Chief Eric Phillips was telling me. Jason started from the front row. Right now, he currently runs in the 8th spot.
Ty Dillon runs along in the 9th spot, and again, another great run for this kid. 2nd up at Martinsville. I love his attitude. I love the way he stepped into his brother's truck and is racing it at the front of the pack week in and week out. He started 5th, and he's running in 9th spot. So another solid performance for this young man.
Talking about solid performances, Justin Lofton holding on to the 10th spot right now, starting 3rd in this race. He's already had 2 top 5 finishes to start off the 2012 season, but a best career finish here of 13th. He wants to improve on that, as well as his best career finish, which was Daytona earlier this year, where he finished in 3rd. Miguel Paludo holding on to the 11th spot.
And Rick, I'll update Miguel Paludo as we go from 11th on back. He is telling his crew chief, Mike Hillman Jr., that his truck is very loose in the early parts of the runs, but gets much, much better as we go along. And we move back to 12th is Jason White, that Gunbroker Ford. Once they took the nose off, or the tape off of that nose, it has not been good. And there may be a problem. Sounds like the 18 might be out of fuel. We should be very close to the start of these pit stops, guys.
Yeah, that's going to start him right there. Jason Leffler stretched it a little bit too long. We knew they were getting close. They've run about 55 laps. That was the outside of our window. We had a few caution laps, so we'll extend that. But unfortunately for Jason Leffler, it didn't work out. He's over in turn 3 and 4 coasting. He will make it to pit road, though.
But he might not make it to his pit stall. That might bring out a caution if he stalls on pit road. Right now, as he's out of the racing groove, we stay green, 75 laps of racing to go. As you mentioned, he's going to make it to pit road, but his pit stall is a ways down, so he might not get to it. Slowly on pit road for Jason Leffler, and the time just ticking away. It's got to be driving him crazy.
Yeah, this is just going to kill him, kill his good top 10 run he had going today, and that should be a sign for some of these other guys. Hey, let's don't stretch this thing. We better get to pit road and get some fuel.
I don't think he's going to make it. NASCAR will have to throw the caution if he doesn't, because it's time for other drivers to get to pit road.
He's about 10 stalls away right now, and he's creeping along.
Yeah, he's going to make it. He's going to be crawling, and he's going to take him out of all contention. Matt Crafton is not slowing on the racetrack, headed to pit road in the 88 truck.
Ray Dunlap.
And guys, these guys can't quite figure out what the problem was. They should have had 5 or 6 extra laps here in that window. Leffler was trying to start the truck but couldn't get it. He did get to his pit stall, so they'll get that gasoline in there, but he's going to lose a couple of laps. How about the 88, Hermie?
Well, Matt Crafton's on pit road on lap 94. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel. This truck is tight. They'll make an air pressure adjustment for Matt Crafton.
Also coming onto pit road, Nelson Piquet Jr., Timothy Peters making their green flag stops. Hermie.
Nelson Piquet Jr. a little bit concerned about his water temperature near 300 degrees. Other than that, the truck is tight. They'll make an air pressure adjustment as well as a track bar adjustment. Timothy Peters also on pit road. They like his truck, but he was not as good in traffic. A little bit too tight. Need 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, and an air pressure adjustment for Timothy Peters. Ray?
Todd Bodine will be coming down pit road. His truck is too tight, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment on the left front. Todd said he likes the way his truck gets into the corner, but tight coming off. So here comes that Toyota Care Tundra. How about checking in on the 29, Hermie?
Parker Kligerman, as we documented earlier, is loose in the middle of the corner. 4 tires, fuel. It'll be a track bar adjustment for Parker Kligerman.
I'm a little surprised that Buscher has stayed on the racetrack, but the 3 of Ty Dillon on pit road, Ray.
On the left side of your screen, you see that, Rick, and he is tight through the center also. Remember earlier I said he was a 5 tight in and a 5 to 7 off. He said it really hasn't changed even though they made adjustments, and here comes Buscher.
James Buscher hits his marks on pit road. He likes his truck still a little bit tight from center out. There'll be no adjustments for Buscher, though. 4 tires in Sunoco fuel.
And the guy who we talked about coming onto pit road on that last pit stop, Johnny Sauter runs second. Ron Hornaday, he stopped on lap 46, so he's got a few more laps of green flag racing that he can go. And as that happens, the caution comes out.
What a tremendous advantage for Ron Hornaday. Michael, we talked about it on that last caution. We thought it was time for these guys to come to pit road and get some fuel. And look at all these trucks sitting on pit road while the caution just came out.
Caution comes out. James Buscher showed as the last driver on the lead lap, and he's running 10th. So we'll see as the scoring monitor continues to adjust. A little bit of debris on the racetrack bringing out the caution.
Remember those twists and plots we talked about? We've just experienced one.
Another one.
A big one. A big one.
James Buscher, after just making the stop. Oh, there's the reaction.
That guy was leading the race, Rick, and now he's stuck.
Ron Hornaday, well, good things do happen to crazy drivers, and Hornaday's had a crazy day. Tomorrow, immediately following Fox's live coverage of the Sprint Cup race, Speed is your home for comprehensive post-race coverage from Kansas on NASCAR Victory Lane. JR, Kenny, and Kyle will celebrate with the winner while they debate and analyze the action. Plus, you'll hear from all the key players after the dust settles. NASCAR Victory Lane after the race right here on Speed. And that is where your winner will end up. Victory Lane here at Kansas Speedway.
That's a wonderful place. I've never been there, but they tell me it's nice.
It looks nice. I mean, they've done a nice job with it.
Timothy Peters right now the first truck behind
the pace car, but we're expecting a few changes here coming up shortly with wave rounds.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of waiver rounds. Right now, James Busher is being shown as our leader, Hermie. What's Ron Hornaday have to say?
Well, Phil, they got a pretty good break. They were scheduled to come in on lap 102, so they stretched it out, got to pit under caution, and we got to go back to the situation in 3 and 4 where Hornaday saved his truck early today. That was on the second lap after a restart. Flat spotted a set of tires. NASCAR gave this team another set of sticker tires. So when Hornaday pits again before the end of this race, he'll have 4 more sticker tires to go on this 9 truck.
Well, he deserves them.
Yeah. He has definitely used up some tires here at Kansas today. Our ethanol fast fact: cutting the emissions is good for people. The American Lung Association pegs health care costs due to air pollution at $50 billion in the United States every year.
American ethanol has helped cleaning that up.
Cleaner burning fuel.
See Ty Bodine making his way to pit road. He is the lucky dog. He will be put back on the lead lap. They've continued to work with a little bit of body damage to the 2 of Tim George Jr. That's the second time they've been on pit road. Meanwhile, the waiver rounds have made their way back to the front stretch. You see Tim's made some contact with the outside wall.
I love the waiver rounds, Phil. It just cleans up the field. We've got the truck leading the race is going to start up front like he's supposed to. These guys were ahead of the leader. NASCAR sends them around to the back of the field to break for these cats, but mainly it just makes the front of the field be racing for the lead or the win, and that's what's happening now.
9 trucks took advantage of the wave around: the 17, 29, 30, 18, 6, 3, 88, 32, and 99. And Joey Coulter in the 22. Well, he's not keeping a cautious pace right now with the rest of the field.
He's right in front of the pace car. The pace car is getting ready to come around right now.
I think he's waiting for the field to go by because he thought he was a wave around, but he isn't. So just trying to correct where he's supposed to be. Now, where he lines up from there would be a good question. NASCAR is going to leave the caution out until we can get the 22 of Joey Coulter sorted.
In the right position. So Coulter continues to drop back. He'll find a spot to fall into where NASCAR tells him to restart.
There's nothing worse than thinking you're a wave around and you're really not. That's a big disappointment.
Yeah.
Thinking you're going to get a lap and you don't actually get that lap.
Now he's going to have to fight for the Aaron's lucky dog to get back in contention.
And remember, just a few laps ago, he's battling for 5th. We talked about it when we went through the field. And right now he's being shown 23rd a lap down.
That's no fun.
There's Ty Bodine. He was our Aaron's lucky dog for this caution flag. Remember, he had made a green flag pit stop, and he was the first truck behind our leader when the caution flag came out.
I love his helmet. He's saying hi to his daughter Ashlyn. That's fun that she can sit at home and watch her daddy and know that he's thinking about her.
He showed me a picture of Ashlyn last night. I can't believe how old she's getting. She's a teenager, I think about 14, maybe 13, maybe 14 years old. Good looking girl.
I got a 14-year-old teenager.
Got a couple 13-year-olds.
I was going to say, we're all kind of in that boat right now, I believe. Brad Keselowski looks as though he is going to restart on the front row, but take a look at this pit stop, this most recent stop.
Watch him try to get the gas in, but there's gas everywhere. He's running in place.
Slick paint right there. There's a opening on pit row. That's why those yellow lines the cross yellow lines are there.
And you could see Brad Keselowski pulled right out in front of Johnny Sauter. That put Keselowski second up on the front row, and Sauter's up to third. So adjustments for Sauter, some strategy, and now he's up toward the front, Phil.
Sure is. It worked out well for him.
They're going to go one more time around, so we will take a quick break. And we are not going to leave. We're going to talk more about.
I don't want to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to go anywhere.
Let's stick around here.
That was quick break.
I just needed a breath of fresh air. James Busher still out in front. Keselowski will be second on the restart. And again, after all that took place, Busher back out in front, the dominant truck.
As well it should be.
But Hornaday's grabbed all that track position. He's up in the 4th spot, so the pitting strategy worked well for those guys. Hermie, what's happening down on pit road?
Yeah, Michael, the drivers and teams that came down pit road on this most recent caution to get fuel on my end of pit road are anywhere between 12 and 15 laps short. So if this race goes green, then the next question becomes, what do they do when they stop on that last pit stop? Is it fuel only, 2 tires, or 4 tires? Strategy could play a big part in who wins this race.
Yeah, I like coming in and getting maybe 4 or 5 gallons of fuel is all.
I like that a lot. We've got our track position. We got to hold on to it now. It's getting late in the going. You can't have a mistake or a pit call that cost you 10 or 12 spots, because we saw Keselowski back there racing for 12th. He couldn't go anywhere. Jason White leading the race early. He's stuck there. So it's how competitive this series is.
Potentially one more stop until we get to the checkered flag, but 63 laps to go when they get to the stripe. Again, leading this field, Buescher, Keselowski coming to the stripe. Green flag back in the air. Great restart for Keselowski on the bottom of the racetrack. Johnny Sauter all over his back bumper. That's pushing Buescher back to potentially third as they come out of turn 2.
Now he's side by side right now with Buescher in that battle for second.
That's a fast truck that James has. He's able to get her wound up and drive by Johnny Sauter. Now he's going to take off after Brad Keselowski.
Keselowski out in front of the field. His first lap led at Kansas. Buescher has led 60 laps. Jason White led 29 laps early. Leffler has led 5, Bodine 5, Hornaday 3, Keselowski 2, and McCumbee 1.
Looks like that 19 truck of Keselowski's likes clean air. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, and they worked on it all day long, made adjustments. He obviously has the experience and the knowledge to tell the team what he wants to do to it. And now that it's out front, he's setting sail.
Look at that swarm of trucks back here coming off turn 4.
Lofton on the bottom of the racetrack goes all the way down to the apron, thinking that might be the faster way around, but loses ground on the 23 of Jay White.
I mean, that's basically 3rd to 15th or 20th, all right there, battling tailgate to bumper.
Timothy Peters moves to the inside, tries to get by Joey Coulter as they enter the turn. Max Gresham high on the racetrack in the 24.
Remember, Max Gresham was in the wall with significant damage not long ago.
And still just 1 lap down, running 20th right now.
But running with some really good trucks.
Trying to race for that lucky dog, which right now the position is held by Joey Coulter, running 19th.
The team did some pretty handy work with that plastic hammer.
Nelson Piquet Jr. pulls up behind the 29 truck of Parker Kligerman. You see Jason Leffler down on the inside. Jason took the wave around, but he's still being shown 1 lap down. Actually, still being shown 2 laps down.
Yeah, he was 3 laps down, took the wave around to get back to just 2 laps down. Look at Todd Bodine. Trying to work through 4 wide.
I don't like Max being up in all this traffic with that damaged truck. It might do okay when he's by himself, but he's got his hands full right now, and he's in a big pack.
Now Bodine's going to make a move to the inside, get a little bit of a run up off the corner, pulls underneath Dakota Armstrong.
Able to make the pass on Dakota.
Now Todd drives back right up on the tailgate of that 24 truck of Gresham.
The 11 truck running 11th, but he's going to lose that spot as Kligerman moves up and past on the outside. Parker Kligerman with the fast truck now.
We know that Todd Bodine has had a fast truck. Hung down on the bottom, see if he can make any ground up on Piquet, who was to his outside.
Okay, there went Max, but he hung on.
A little sideways there for the 24 of Gresham.
Maybe get a couple more trucks by him. He can have some space to hang out in.
Timothy Peters takes over the 5th spot, left side of your screen from the 33 of Cale Gale. There's Joey Coulter. Remember, he's the head dude right now for the lucky dog.
1 lap down. Joey Coulter.
Head dog
after Timothy Peters.
He's a lead dog.
Lead dog for the lucky dog. Timothy Peters top 5. He's running 5th. And where is Brad Keselowski? All the way up in 3 and 4 right now.
And look who's joined him, Rick. I like this truck of James Buescher today.
Very strong. Just 0.3 of a second back last time by. Brad Keselowski looking for win number 1 in the Camping World Truck Series. He's finished 2nd before Gateway back in 2010, but has not been able to win in the Truck Series. And amazingly enough, He spent a lot of time in the Truck Series before his Nationwide Series and Cup Series took off.
Part of a family operation. What really put him on the map was when he jumped in a Germain truck that Ted Musgrave had been driving, went to Memphis, sat on the pole, and it was leading most of that race.
A lot of laps.
Got turned around right towards the end of the race, but people really took notice of that. And he ended up in Dale Jr.'s Nationwide car not long after.
Yeah, that very next week, the phone rang, and it was Dale Earnhardt Jr. asking him to drive his Nationwide car, and it has exploded since then.
It's amazing the adjustments that they've been able to make on that 19 truck. We saw him mired back racing between 10th and 15th, not really able to go any farther forward. I think right now James Buescher has a better truck than Keselowski, but nonetheless Keselowski has a pretty darn good truck right now.
We'll see if James Buescher is able to find a way around that 19 or how wide Brad Keselowski can make that truck.
Well, we have 54 laps to go. We have another pit stop, so I'm not sure that Brad is going to really worry so much about whether James Buescher gets by him. He'd rather keep that 3-second gap right now that they have over the third place truck than maybe worry about James Buescher getting by him.
And lap after lap, they're a couple of tenths faster than the rest of the top 5, so they've got it pretty much to themselves right now. But James isn't content to ride there. He wants to get that lead back, and I don't blame him. You never know how much of a gap you need. You make that last pit stop, a lug nut falls off, anything goes wrong. You got to charge from lap 1 to the last lap to win one of these babies.
And James Buescher would like to lead the most laps when leaving Kansas. That'd be another bonus point. And currently, he's second in the point standings behind Timothy Peters. Starting this Monday on NASCAR Race Hub, it's King Week. Get your daily dose of NASCAR excitement as we go all access with Richard Petty. For exclusive interviews and in-depth features, you'll see a side of the King that very few have ever seen before. So check out the Hub Monday through Thursday night, 6 and 11 Eastern, right here on Speed.
Hey, how about that 43 car that Eric Almirola is driving for Richard Petty in the STP 400 tomorrow right here on right live on Fox?
I love it. It's a beautiful car. It takes me back to the 70s when he raced around in that hot rod. And talked to Eric down on pit road before qualifying, and he says he really likes his car. And he couldn't be prouder to be driving that paint scheme for the King.
We're taking a look at Jason Leffler. He's trying to move up, but it's going to be very difficult. He's 2 laps down because of running out of fuel just before a lot of the green flag pit stops took place.
Good battle right there for the third spot. There's a battle for the lead.
We have seen the 19 of Keselowski and the 31 of James Buescher go down to the apron, crossing the stripe. Now it looks as though just the 19 of Keselowski is going to go down there. Buescher still trying to get by and get that lead back from Keselowski. Side by side, Buescher takes it away from Keselowski.
I don't think Brad's done yet. But look at that power down on the bottom of the racetrack. James Buescher is able to complete that pass. He made it look pretty easy, too.
He sure did.
Hadn't seen anybody else accomplish that today.
There's Timothy Peters. He has taken over that third spot in the battle with Hornaday. Remember, Joey Coulter, the 22 right now, is being shown 1 lap down in the 19th spot, but that's how good a truck he has right now.
Joey's saying, come on, Caution, fly. I need you right now. I need you to be my friend.
And I need a little bit of time to fight back from the lucky dog. You have to start towards the back when you get the lucky dog.
45 laps remaining, your top 5. James Buescher, Brad Keselowski, Timothy Peters, Ron Hornaday, and Johnny Sauter.
We know we're in the window now. If we get a caution anytime from here on out, the guys will be able to get to pit road for the last time.
Wait, what are the 18 team talking about after that disappointment of running out of fuel?
Well, Rick, I stopped over and asked Rick Wren if he knew what the situation was. He said, we cannot figure it out at all. He said, I was timing the gas in on the pit stops, and it corresponds with all the information we have, and we should have been at least 7 laps to the good from where we ran out. So they really are scratching their head and don't have an answer yet.
Unfortunate. Leffler was running in the top 10 at the time.
And now he's toast, I think, Phil. Yeah. Unless the caution flies down, they take a chance and the leaders pit, and they do another lap around and get a caution. He's in trouble.
We know the leaders are going to pit. They're now in their window to get to the end of the race. But once you get that second lap down, it's so hard to overcome it. Remember, we saw Kevin Harvick overcome being 2 laps down at Martinsville last year. We said there was no way he could get back, but he did, fought back, got got 2 laps back and ended up finishing with a top 5 finish, but it's pretty rare.
Yeah, and I want to give a call out to Cale Gill, running inside the top 10, 6th spot, racing along there with Ty Dillon. We talk about Coulter and some of these kids that show up and get their arms around this deal in a hurry, and Cale showing today that he's got what it takes to run up front.
Pair of Brazilians running side by side. Miguel Paludo on the outside. Nelson Piquet Jr. was on the inside. Now Nelson Piquet Jr. in front of Miguel.
You can see they're just behind Justin Lofton, and there's Todd Bodine working on Ty Dillon.
Remember how far Todd has had to come, because he was the lucky dog on our most recent caution. Again, you have to start back towards the back when that happens, and he's made his way all the way up now to the 7th spot. Or trying to get 7th from Ty.
Thought he had it, didn't he?
He sure did.
Ty working on the high side. Todd on the bottom of the racetrack. Todd able to stay in front of that 3. Again, Bodine running in the 7th spot. Cale Gill just in front of him. Ty Dillon dropping off just a bit now. Justin Lofton behind Ty Dillon. Nelson Piquet Jr. rounding out our top 10.
I'm going to tell you, a caution flag anytime now and allows these guys to come to pit road again, make some more adjustments. That's going to change the complexion of this race. We know James Buescher has shown to be the strongest truck, but Todd Bodine's got a darn good truck right now too.
About 30 laps into this run, as far as the last time guys were on pit road, and we talked about the window being between 50 and 55 laps, so another 20 before they'd have to make green flag pit stops.
Todd was the fastest truck on the racetrack that last lap by about a tenth and a half over James Buescher. You know, he's wanting a caution flag to get to pit road here, get closed up with the field. He's being shown right now about 7.5 seconds behind.
This is good news for that 11 team and Todd Bodine. They needed to be strong. They needed to start making some moves. They've made some adjustments in practice. Todd really likes, and he's fast.
We need to find out what that was. He needs to tell us.
James Buescher has a 1.5 second lead over Brad Keselowski. What is the Keselowski crew talking about down there, Ray?
Well, Brad has been on the radio, and he said, guys, I'll tell you, we do not have a winning truck today, but we have learned an incredible amount of what to do to make these trucks better. And his pit spotter, DJ Major, said, are you sure we don't have a winning truck? You're not giving up on me yet, are you? And Brad said, no, don't forget, we've got 1 round of pit stops to go, and they are using the 12 team from the Nationwide Series as his pit crew here. So pit stops could be a big part, but I'm telling you, that 31 is on a rail. Right, Hermie?
You're right, Ray, but what the 31 team is concerned about is how fast they can take off after a pit stop. That's been the conversation between crew chief Mike Shelton and his driver James Buescher. How long is it taking your truck to come in? They were really concerned about the restart and how long it took them to get back to P1. We'll see if they talk about any changes for this pit stop when they come down pit road, which should be the money stop.
And again, that inside, looking at about 18 laps before we may see some green flag pit stops back here in Kansas. We'll be right back. Welcome back. James Buescher now with almost a 4-second lead over Brad Keselowski. Keselowski's dropped back to 2nd. Timothy Peters is 3rd. Ron Hornaday and Johnny Sauter rounding out our top 5.
We speculated that Buescher had a better truck than Keselowski, and as you mentioned, he has now opened up over a 4-second lead, and Keselowski is being chased down by Timothy Peters.
Yeah, Timothy's about there. He's closing on Brad. See Joey Coulter there just ahead of Brad. He drove around Brad. He is our Aaron's lucky dog right now if the caution were to fall. Like you said, Phil, I need that caution to fall soon. I need some time to work back through the field. We know how hard it is to pass.
Good battle for 8th right there. Cale Gill of 33 Ream Chevrolet has it. There's a Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet of Ty Dillon. He right now currently runs in the 9th spot. These guys have worked together before. Cale was Ty's crew chief at one time.
Buescher, Keselowski, Peters, Hornaday, Sauter, your top 5. Then it's Bodine, Piquet Jr., Cale Gill, Ty Dillon, and Justin Lofton.
Ty to the bottom of the racetrack, pulls alongside Cale Gill. Move over, crew chief.
Ty Dillon, another impressive run. This one happening at Kansas.
Can we close the deal, Phil?
Oh, just about had him cleared. Now he's got him, I think.
The last 2 races won by Cup regulars, Harvick and Kasey Kahne. Keselowski right now the only Cup regular in the field, currently running in the 2nd spot. We've had teams finish 1st and 2nd in the first 3 races.
We have teams battling on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's a team right here. Eddie Sharp Racing right here with Justin Lofton and Cale Gale. Both trucks right now in the top 10. Great showing for Eddie Sharp Racing right now.
I had talked a little bit about Johnny Sauter running in the 5th spot. We always like to listen in on Johnny Sauter's radio. Very entertaining. We did it once again. Here's what they had to say.
I don't know what you did to this thing. It's just so bad. It's just so bad. It's just junk.
Running 5th. 9 seconds back.
The competition better hope that they don't get it right, or he will wear them out.
He's won here before. We saw that synchronized spin with Ian Hornaday. Johnny got to victory lane that day.
About 10 laps away from green flag pit stops. Buescher leading Keselowski by 5.5 seconds at Kansas. American Ethanol fast fact. Most Kansas ethanol plants were built with investments from local farmers and community members.
I don't have any more watermelon facts to add, Rick.
While we were away, pass for second. Timothy Peters able to get by that 19 of Brad Keselowski. Timothy Peters now trying to reel in James Buescher, but Buescher so strong right now at this racetrack.
Another fast race truck we have on the racetrack right now is Timothy Peters. Makes his way to pit road. Green flag pit stop. Nelson Piquet Jr.'s got a very, very fast truck.
He moved up to the 4th spot, and Timothy Peters headed into the stall, Hermie.
The last stop of the day for Timothy Peters. What they've been saying is want to stop a little bit early and get right side tires only and fuel and try to pick up a little bit of track position on pit road. But now they decide to call it off. They go to 4 tires for Timothy Peters.
I don't know about this strategy.
Yeah, extended period of time on pit road here as we watch Nelson Piquet Jr. go for another spot on Hornaday. He takes over the 3rd spot.
And Hornaday very close to that 19 of Brad Keselowski as Keselowski decided to come onto pit road as well. Close call there coming onto pit road, right?
Brad knew it was this time by, but the big question is what to do in the pits. Very close there on the nose of the 84. They're going to have to get fuel in this thing, but will it be a right side tires only? Brad said if it is, make sure you give me a little bit of tape on the nose. They will work on that, put that piece on there. Right sides only now to Hermie.
Parker Kligerman coming to pit road. His guys have also been uncommittal about what they'll do on pit road. They're now saying 2 right side tires it'll be for Parker Kligerman and about 1/2 can of fuel. Nelson Piquet Jr. also coming down pit road. Probably the fastest truck on the track. He's going to take 2 right side tires and about 1/2 can of fuel, guys.
I like the right side strategy. I did not like Timothy Peters' 4 tires. We're gonna see where he ends up compared to Keselowski, who he was racing with.
Right.
This Bass Pro Shop Chevy has just been way too tight all day long for Ty Dillon. He is saying it just gets worse and worse as we go. So they had to go with 4 tires here. They'll go fuel in that thing on lap 149. Also, it looks like the 6 is on his way down pit road. For Justin Lofton said, I really start to get a little bit aero tight, but the more I run, the worse and worse it gets. So do something for me off of the corner. The College Complete Chevrolet is on its way to the pits right now. When will James Buescher come to pit road, Hermie?
James Buescher coming to pit road, right? His crew chief, they've been talking whether or not they had enough fuel to take right side tires on their pit stop. Their other hand to 2 right side tires. Other teams that may have changed the decision here on pit road, but he stops in his box. They are now talking about 2 right side tires for the 31. 2 right side.
Something's wrong with Johnny Sauter, guys. He's coming back to pit road. He was on pit road earlier. What are they doing? 4 tires?
4 tires on Buescher.
Well, 4 tires for Buescher.
He had about a 4 or 5 second lead. Maybe they felt like that was enough cushion to get 4 tires. And if the caution flag were to come out, he would have 4 tires and most of the rest of them too.
What happened to the 13 truck? Is that a battery issue?
13 has the left side up.
A lot of time when they raise the left side, it's to work on the battery, but that didn't look like that's what the case was there.
They never took the left rear tire off.
No. Huh. Costly.
So coming off of pit road, again, green flag pit stops taking place. Todd Bodine is scored as your race leader.
Johnny Sauter is slow on pit road. He is not up to speed as he tries to lead pit road.
4 trucks still need to come to pit road. The top 4, Bodine, Miguel Paludo, Armstrong, and Tim George Jr.
These guys, Sauter, there's definitely something wrong. He tried to go when he got to the line, and the truck just won't go.
Maybe it's
linkage issue, potentially.
Broken axle, maybe. I don't know.
It looks like they were looking underneath the truck. We're trying to figure out something under the truck.
You know, he made a green flag pit stop. He could have broken a drive plate or an axle as he tried to leave pit road.
And now ducking to pit road, the 11 of Todd Bodine.
And make sure you get slowed down. The first timing line starts way back before the first pit box.
Paludo also following him onto pit road. But the 11 of Todd Bodine coming to you, Ray.
Rick Gay made the call. Let's do right side tires here. That'll be good for us. And on the way off of the corner, Todd Bodine said, nope, give me fuel only. They said, make sure you don't slide those tires. It'll be just a little bump of fuel, 3 or 4 seconds there. And Todd Bodine will gain some big track position right there.
Ray, I like that call. If they got enough fuel in that 11 truck, I like it. Gain some of that track position back because remember he had to overcome the lucky dog on our last caution.
It looks like he's going to settle in about second. Phil, James Busher just went around him.
And Keselowski's in front of him as well. And Keselowski was on pit road at 147, so he won't have to come back.
Remember, Busher took 4 tires. He took the extra time to take 4 tires. Keselowski.
Johnny Sauter back on pit road. What's up, Hermie?
Yeah, they're talking about an issue with the shifter, the transmission. Apparently, he cannot get the truck to go in the proper gear leaving pit road, so they got it jacked up on the left side. They're going to drop him down and try to push him down pit road. They put it in 4th gear, trying to push him off the pit road, guys.
Dakota Armstrong will come on to pit road now. He will relinquish the lead to the 19 of Brad Keselowski, who has made his final pit stop.
And he also has company.
Yeah, James Busher is coming.
James Busher is closing in. Going to be a great battle to the finish.
Ray.
Up and down the charts has been the number 98 Everfi Toyota Tundra for Dakota Armstrong. He said it gets really, really tight in traffic, but after they go for a long run, it seems to level out a little bit. Looks like they may have just a little bit of a hang up on the right side there, and they went right side tires only. He's back to the racetrack, lap 156.
He's going to go from the lead to a lap down just that quick, Phil. The leader's across the start-finish line. Dakota's just leaving pit road, so stayed out, took a gamble on a caution flag to try to gain some ground on the guys. It didn't work out, and this is a battle for the lead.
Here comes James Busher with those 4 fresh tires trying to chase down Brad Keselowski. Todd Bodine now is in a battle for 3rd with Timothy Peters.
Battle for the lead. Here comes Busher. Busher to the inside of Keselowski. With just 10 laps to go when they get to the stripe, can Busher clear Keselowski and try to check out on this field?
Heck yeah. You know, he had that 4-second lead like you talked about, Phil. This protects against anything going wrong on a green-white checkered finish. You know, he's got those 4 fresh tires. He could gamble and take that chance. Just like Todd Bodine did a nice job in using strategy to get himself up inside the top 5. So differing strategies, but the right call ultimately for James Busher.
So Busher out in front, and there is the gap already between Busher and the 19 of Keselowski. Those two separated by 0.2 of a second, and they have just 9 laps of racing to go. James Busher starting the season off incredibly at Daytona, but not in the Camping World Truck Series. It was the Nationwide Series where he gets his first NASCAR win. He has not won in the Camping World Truck Series. That could all change today.
He went into turn 4 in Daytona for the race on Saturday, running 14th. won the race. Had them just where he wanted them. They all piled up in front of him. Who would have thought he had ever won a nationwide race before he won a truck race? He's been so close.
And Nelson Piquet Jr., after an amazing performance at Rockingham a week ago, now moves up into the 4th spot as he passes Todd Bodine.
That's another one of the guys that we're going to be talking about winning his first Camping World Truck Series race this season, Nelson Piquet Jr. It may not be today. It looks like this is James Buescher's race unless we have a late caution that scrambles this thing up.
But that guy right there, not only winning his first race, he could be racing for a championship. He showed the speed at Rockingham, and he's showing the speed again here today that it takes to win a championship with.
Johnny Sauter back up to speed. You see him on the racetrack down at the bottom. Again, he has had a problem on pit road. He's scored 24th now.
Yeah, the tough luck continues for Johnny Sauter. We thought maybe he got it behind him at Rockingham with a top 5 finish, but it's followed him here to Kansas.
So James Buescher, Brad Keselowski, 2 seconds separating the top 2. Then it's Timothy Peters, Nelson Piquet Jr., Todd Bodine, your top 5. 7 laps of racing to go from Kansas. Nelson Piquet Jr., a very fast truck once again this week. He is about 2.5 seconds behind Timothy Peters if he wants to improve his position.
Remember, Todd Bodine did fuel only. He could not hold off Nelson Piquet Jr. or Timothy Peters. Todd shook out after the pit stops in 3rd. Wasn't able to keep those guys behind him, but still a good move because now he's up in the top 5, and he was outside the top 5 before pit stop started.
Look at Piquet dive hard down into the 3rd turn. He doesn't know who his next victim is, but he knows he wants to hurry up and get there.
He figures if he passes him when he comes to him, maybe he'll get to the next one he needs to pass for position. See Todd right there running in the 5th spot. He's got about a second over Ron Hornaday. Some pretty heavy traffic for Todd. Wasn't able to clear Chris Fontaine in the 84 truck and lost the front end up off the corner. Had to get back out of the throttle.
You don't think he's got a flat tire, do you? That truck just took off on him.
Looks like we're going to have a great battle for second here as Timothy Peters has reeled in that 19 of Brad Keselowski.
I was talking to Butch Hilton, crew chief for Timothy Peters. He said this is not a new truck, but the only thing that's the same is the center section. We put a new front snout, a new rear clip, and a complete new body. So essentially a brand new truck here for this first of 10 mile-and-a-half races.
And that bodes well. You do something new, your truck works well. A lot of tracks coming up that these guys will use these same trucks at. So good sign for this team. You see Keselowski wiggle in the middle of the course, wiggling again.
Big wiggle. That allows the 17 of Timothy Peters. He makes the pass. He moves up to second. Todd Bodine trying to hold off Hornaday. Hornaday on the inside.
Somebody's going to wreck, they said.
Timothy Peters now moves up to second. James Buescher with just under 3 laps of racing to go, leading at Kansas.
James Buescher just wants to see that white flag because he knows the next flag will end this thing. He wants to make sure he gets to the white before we have another late caution and open up a green-white checker.
2 laps to go. Buescher crosses the stripe. 3 miles remaining before his first Camping World Truck Series win.
And oh, by the way, with a 5-second lead, he's still the fastest truck on the racetrack. James is saying, please, guys, keep these trucks straight here till we get to the white flag anyway.
Goes to the high side, goes past Norm Benning. A few laps down. This time by. Coming out of turn number 4. That white flag that you talked about, Phil, in the air. James Buescher 1 lap away from his first Camping World Truck Series win.
Such a huge lead right now. Really not a whole bunch of lap traffic in front of him.
5-second lead over Timothy Peters. James Buescher, 4 times before, has finished second in the Camping World Truck Series. Coming out of turn number 4, looking at his first win. Buescher is going to win at Kansas.
Awesome job, guys. This truck's incredible. You guys deserve that one for sure.
He wheeled that thing.
Guys. Thanks for all the hard work, brother. Thank y'all guys for sticking with me. I know we've been close a lot, but finally got there.
Todd Bodine did a nice job holding off Ron Hornaday side-by-side battle, and Ron couldn't quite do anything with Todd, so great finish. I love the differing strategies we saw. 2 tires, 4 tires, Todd no tires. All of it seemed to pay off for the teams. They knew the cards they were playing, made the right decisions.
We knew it was just going to be a matter of time before the 31 team would head to victory lane. Let's hear from the winning crew chief.
Well, a lot of high fives and hugs here in the pit. Mike Shelton, congratulations. You guys have been so close so many times, dominated this show today.
Yes, sir. I can't thank Steven Sanders Turner enough. Believing in me and James. Progenics on board for the first time. 2 in a row. Should have had something at Daytona. We come up short. 3rd at Martinsville, which we struggle. Come up a little short to Casey last week, teammate Turner Motorsports. The guys are working hard. I mean, it shows on the track. Championship form, I hope.
Let's go have some fun in victory lane.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, heading to victory lane.
And James Buscher's going to have fun in the grass here in Kansas.
He had a lot of fun on the racetrack, that's for sure.
That's one of our newlyweds, Rick.
He was the winner of the Just Married Newlywed game. And his wife didn't make the trip this week, so she's watching on speed. She won't be able to celebrate in victory lane this time, but I wouldn't count him out getting to victory lane maybe a few more times this year. Takes the helmet off. It looks as though he might be looking for a checkered flag here in front of the grandstands at Kansas. Checkered flag in hand, celebration because they dominated. They led 5 times for 103 laps here at Kansas. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series on Speed is brought to you by Camping World and Good Sam. Everything for the RV lifestyle, including RVs, accessories, warranties, insurance, and roadside assistance. And by Toyota Care. After grabbing the checkered flag, he climbs back in the truck, and it's about time for him to climb out of the truck. In victory lane, we go there with Ray Dunlap. Sorry about that, Hermie.
Hermie's ducking.
I'm trying to go. I'm getting ready to drown first. These guys. Oh, this is pretty. James Buscher. Can you hear me?
Out of this here. Gotta get the
You guys finished second 4 times. Finally get to victory lane, and you do it in dominating fashion. Congratulations.
Yeah, these guys did a heck of a job building this Progenics Chevy. Michael Shelton stuck with me. This is the first racetrack we ran together in the trucks, and we ran out of gas, but got some redemption 2 years later. We've done a lot since then and got a lot of second place finishes, like you said, but hats off to these guys. This is a brand new truck, new sponsor with Progenics on the hood. Got to thank Koicke for being with us last week and a couple more this year, and AccuDock Solutions, Exide Batteries, Great Clips, Brandt, ABF, FOE, everybody that helps this team, Von Zipper Sunglasses, DC Shoes, everybody that makes this deal go around. These Turner Motorsports trucks are pretty awesome. 2 in a row is saying something. So having our first win last week with Casey and running second to him, we wanted to come here and win one for ourselves. So you got to thank Steven Sanders Turner for giving us the opportunity to have such great trucks.
And this has been a big day for you. 2 victories for you today. You may not know this. You also won the Just Married game on the pre-race show as well. So what's going to be the biggest trophy when you get home, this one or the winning the Just Married game?
Well, Just Married game was a lot of fun. My wife Chris is back at home watching. I actually already talked to her, so I love you, honey. Wish you were here. And it's pretty cool to have so many great things going on in my life right now. First NASCAR win at Daytona this year, and then finally got the victory lane in the trucks, and got probably pretty close to leading the points right now. So we're still spraying Gatorade. It's just a phenomenal day. This thing's a great truck. We'll dust it off and take it to Charlotte.
That's James Buscher. He gets his first ever career Camping World Truck Series victory. Ray?
Well, I know things were very exciting over there in victory lane for you, Hermie, but I'll tell you what, a big smile on this guy's face. Comes in as the point leader and second place. Was there anything you could have done to this Toyota race truck today to make it a winner?
Oh, man, I feel like we won. It was pretty daggone close all race long. We just had to keep up with the way the racetrack changed with the sun coming out. So You know, I really am proud of Butch Hilton and everybody on this Red Horse Racing, Strutmasters.com, Toyota Tundra. They worked their butts off over the off-season. We struggled on these tracks last year, so, you know, we got our program together. I'm looking forward to going to Charlotte. I feel like I left a little bit on the table there last year, so just thank everybody that's involved with this company, and Butler Seats, Liquor Performance, Goodrich, Chairwine. Just a good day.
Lots of mile-and-a-halves coming up. Timothy Peters finishes second. Todd Bodine with a fifth-place run. 2 good Red Horse trucks today.
As James Buescher mentioned, back-to-back wins for Turner Motorsports. Kane a week ago. James Buescher gets his first win in the trucks today. And welcome back. Just outside of Kansas City, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas. Kansas Speedway for the SFP 250, which has just concluded. We want to take a look at today's fastest pit stop, presented by AutoStop. James Buescher, the final stop. Some people questioned 4 tires. It paid off.
And it was a great call for them. They had enough of a cushion. They felt like they could get 4 tires. He did not come out with a lead after his pit stop. Brad Keselowski had it with 2 tires, and James Buescher made pretty quick work of him.
Was able to get by Brad Keselowski and get his first truck win. Let's go now and hear from Who's With Ray.
I've got Nelson Piquet, and he knocks out another top 5 finish here in the Camping World Truck Series. Long race today, and you were telling me you learned a lot.
Yeah, first time I suffered a problem of temperature, water and oil, and then water pressure. So all of that, keep telling the crew chief what's happening, and my spotter yelling at me, telling to concentrate in the car and don't worry about the temperatures. And well, one of those deals. I think we didn't have. I don't think we had the truck to win the race today. But when things like that happen, you have to bring it home as best as you can. And in last year's situation, probably I would have got frustrated and I would have tried to pass somebody the last lap and would have wrecked it. So I think it was experience. I learned to bring it back home, finish 4th, and it's going to be important for the championship at the end of the year.
No question about it. Those top 5s keep racking up. These guys in good shape. Nelson Piquet finishes 4th today here at KC.
And he's looking at the big picture already. Let's look at it as well. Our Ford unofficial point standings. Timothy Peters now with just a 4-point lead over race winner James Buescher.
I think we're going to have a great battle all year. Timothy Peters, James Buescher are strong week in, week out. Justin Lofton's been really, really good this year. We know Ty Dillon. He's finished in the top 10 6 races in a row now, going back to last year.
And how about that maturity we just heard out of Nelson Piquet Jr., currently 5th in the point standings.
And a lot of speed out of that truck. We saw it at Rockingham and again today. He said he didn't have the truck to win the race with. You put him up front, I think he might have been the only guy here that could have maybe beat James Buescher.
Very, very strong today. Another very strong truck was Brad Keselowski. He's with Ray.
Well, Brad Keselowski said on the radio as those closing laps were going, we learned a lot today, right?
Sure, absolutely. Running the 19 truck and trying to help out Parker Kligerman as he makes a run for the championship in his Cooper Standard and draw type Ram, and learned a lot to be able to help him for this program moving forward. So I'm very thankful for that, and everybody at Penske had helped out on the engine side for this, and we know what direction to take the program, and I'm excited about that. And we need just a little more speed to give him a little better opportunity, and we need just a little more speed to win the race today. But James did an excellent job. His truck was hauling, and he hit everything right and did everything right, so he deserved to win today. But proud of our effort and proud of the 19 team, and have my foundation on it and waste management. It's a great day for our team.
Okay, Brad Keselowski up front a good bit, comes home in 3rd today at Kansas.
So a few different drivers talking about great finishes. That's surprising. Buescher wins. Peters, Keselowski both happy with their finishes.
In 4 weeks, the Camping World Truck Series takes a short drive down the road to their local track, Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's NASCAR's homecoming, and everybody will be looking to get the big win in Charlotte. But only one can wear the crown. Who will be the homecoming king this year? Chris Devoda hosts the setup starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by flag-to-flag coverage, only on Speed.
Under the lights at Charlotte Motor Speedway, always a great show for the Camping World Truck Series. The hat dance continues for James Buescher. Gets his first win in the Camping World Truck Series. Hornaday finished just outside of the top 5, and he is standing by with Ray.
Yeah, right. Ron Hornaday, you finished 6th, up to 7th in points. You guys had an up and down weekend, but you got it done in race time. Good finish for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely made some right calls. Jeff Hensley just really set the truck up good.
Just missing a little bit. Could run with him a little bit, and I got underneath Todd for top 5, and he drove me down a little bit and got me loose. So Todd knows how I race him. I'll race him hard again, but Joe Dent Motorsports, I can't say enough. I mean, what a great job from a rebound from yesterday, how good we ran, and AMFMenergy.com and Wiley X, Cheerwine, Anderson Maple Syrup. It takes a lot of people to get going. We still need that major sponsor, if you know Hermie, and it'll just get us to the next step. But we're running pretty good, and we needed that one for this team.
That's Ron Hornaday Jr. He comes home 6. Back to you, Rick.
Well, thank you, Hermie, and I appreciate you getting my name right, even though I've screwed yours up twice today. Take a look at this tweet from James Busher's wife, Chris. My husband is simply amazing. Awesome job. Turner Motorsports, I love you. So a great performance by the Turner Motorsports. James Busher gets the win in Kansas. Wild ride for a few, but a great one for James Busher. Claims the win and the momentum.